hell's my paint? What do we got? We need a good font. Perfect. Wait, this is actually OP. Why did you just do this? Need a better, like, what's the word? Need a better app, but I can get by with this for now, I think. Bum, bum, ba, 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 ba. Wait, Chad made a twit longer? What the fuck? Oh my god, I have to read this now. Oi, 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 oi. Am I live? Can you guys hear me? You guys should be able to hear me, right? I'm pretty sure you can hear me. Alright, what's up, Chandler? He was just prepping for me. He wanted to get it out of the way. He was like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll drop it as soon as Flames does go live so I can listen to his thoughts on what I have to say. The hyper ping. Well, the problem is at here and at everyone doesn't really work. So if you're not gonna run, did Flame fire Chad? No, I did not fire Chad. Oh my god, sub bombs. Thank you, Zoro, for the 34 months. FLM good is still actually a very good emote. I kind of want to redo my emotes, but I like the bot theme, to be honest. Wait, is this thing not showing up on stream? Hold on, I know why it's not. Go up here. Like drop this thing to like right. All right, what's up, Cyan Exodus? Good old Exodus pie. Extra 23 months. FLM7. Yeah, I like FLM7. I like a lot of the modes. I like FLM BLT too. Bot like this is actually a good one. I also really like my, I feel like my badges are really, I actually really like my 2-year badge. Like I made that shit by myself. I like it. Still no botgasm. It's hard to do botgasm. We could do botgasm. If I unlock a new sub slot ever, actually I could probably delete some of my emotes and put botgasm, but then I'd have to find, what's his name? Amadeus. I haven't seen Amadeus in like 10 years. Bot King's a good one too. Bot thighs. You can make 3 and 4 year badges. I can make a new one. I haven't made new ones though. When I made those, you couldn't actually do that. Wait, I want to read this Chad thing. I'm like genuine. I don't want to put this on screen though. I guess I could put it on screen, but this is such a long ass post. He literally wrote like a fucking autobiography. Link it in chat. It's on his Twitter, but it's so long. I guess this is good though to bring up because there's probably a lot of questions that'll spawn from this. Because it seems like I haven't read this yet, but this looks like he hasn't gone. It sounds like he hasn't held anything back. His Twitter's private anyways. Yeah, I don't know. Someone posted this. I didn't find this. But I assume that this post has like some value in the sense that there's probably stuff here that'll like bring out a lot of questions for me in general, which is nice. I kind of just want to like, I don't know what the word is. I don't really want to talk about Outlaws specifically because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's like specific to Outlaws. Obviously, there's experiences that'll help me formulate other questions, or formulate answers to other questions. But there's kind of a, I don't know. I don't want to like shit talk Outlaws or anything. I feel like it's been too long of me. Like, I mean, I'll passively shit talk them probably for like the rest of my life, but not the players or the coaches, obviously. How do I feel about DC? I guess what part of DC? You mean management, players, coaches, plans? I don't know. DC seems like they have a lot of money and then they just spend it on weird stuff. That's kind of my take on DC because I feel like DC had a large budget this year if they were going to do 5 homestands. But clearly their process is flawed if I've heard from multiple people that their staff are unhappy. And that includes like all of the staff. That's not even like that's not even like the front runner, like the front end staff. Like I've heard that a lot of the staff are unhappy. But not like not in regards to their coaches and their GM. I think it's like their upper office, but a lot of teams have upper office problems. That's like a consistent thing in esports, I think. Especially now, I think investment money, when it's not coming from someone who's just kind of like taking a gamble, someone who like needs their esports investment to succeed, I think is like the wrong approach to esports in the current status of esports. What do you think about Shock could be about management? Would you ever want to work with them? Yeah, I think of all the Owl teams right now, Shock would probably be the most like appealing to work for because they're one of the few brands that actually has people that understand parts of like I feel like Andy Miller seems very hands-on but also kind of in the shadows. Like he always tweets about the team, but he's never like he doesn't seem overbearing. I really like Brett. I haven't really heard any bad stories about Brett. And then they just hired Hector, and Hector is obviously one of like my favorite people in esports. So it's different. Hold on, let me like go one at a time because this is kind of hard. How much were teams relying on homestands to generate revenue to offset advertising? Can you talk about that at all? I mean, I could talk about like my perspective on it. I don't think homestands were ever gonna offset the cost of homestands this season. I think like the fundamental problem with Overwatch League is that they like stole merch. Like so many teams right now are just like making merch. Merch is actually so simple. Like that Space and Sinatra hoodie is like such an easy thing and it makes so much money. Like 100 Thieves, all they do is make merch. So much money. They don't have to invest in a $20 million buy-in to make merch, and you can sell merch infinitely theoretically. And people are always going to want to buy merch, right? Like there's never going to be a time where you don't want a new shirt or like a new hoodie or a cool new jacket or something. But like Owl kind of like stopping that from ever happening in season 1 just like kind of made everything bad. I think Fanatics dropped the ball terribly in season 1, and then ever since season 1, any viewer of Overwatch League was just afraid to buy merch. And so like when you shit the bed that hard on merch and products are like one of the bigger drivers, well, Outlaws 4.0 hoodie didn't go through Fanatics. And Outlaws 4.0 hoodies were actually really good, and they sold a lot for how, like, you know, how good they were. And they actually, there are a lot of people who asked for the 4.0 hoodies after the fact, like after we stopped making them, but by that time Infinite had exploded. So the merch team that was making the 4.0 hoodie like wasn't a part of Infinite or anything Outlaws, so like we couldn't just get them to remake the hoodie. It would have like cost like infinitely more money. I don't actually like the, what's it called, the fabric of that hoodie or any of the Outlaws hoodies from that season. Like I still have a bunch of them, and I hate wearing them because they don't breathe. But they were nice. But yeah, Fanatics actually fucked up the merch, and I think a lot of the revenue, honestly. I don't think homestands, though, were gonna ever offset salary costs. Like, homestands are so expensive. But at the same time, there's like a weird dissonance in homestands, right? Because some owners have like connections. I mean, a lot of owners have connections. But let's say you like your owner knows somebody who like, I don't know, runs a venue or a stadium or a concert hall, which is like very, I would say, high likelihood. Then your org could theoretically get events for cheaper than another org. You like the fabric? The fabric's not good. You don't have the champion stuff that was like made. The champion hoodies are like 10 times better than the floral hoodie. Floral hoodie feels like plastic. But yeah, Shock, the Shock question from Khan. Also, hi Khan, I haven't seen you in a while. Management, like everything about Shock, I think is going well, at least from the outside. Like I haven't heard any horror stories. I'll get your question in a second. Do you think homestands more so serve an advertising purpose and the real money is from merch sales? I don't think it's only merch. Like there's a lot of things you can profit on, right? Like there's ways to build brands and sell things. Like, okay, Year One Infinite Esports was like kind of a mess, right? Like everyone talks about it like it was like this big meme, mostly because the Optic people like hated it. And like I don't blame the Optic people for hating it, right? If you came in from fucking Optic, like you were so mad. Like so much shit got stolen from you, and like that's fine, right? Like I'm not here to like talk about the Optic side of things, but like everyone that came into Optic or from Optic hated Infinite because they lost a lot of their identity and a lot of their stuff, right? But Outlaws was like the only brand that Infinite owned that didn't have like a jaded view of what was going on. Does that make sense? Because nothing was getting taken from us. Everything was new. So like Hector losing control of like, you know, whatever, he was losing control of his rosters or his merch or his like product line or his identity, his brand identity, like that sucks. But Outlaws didn't lose anything because we didn't exist. So like everything that we got was like brand new. But like there were some cool ideas that I think just like never worked. But a lot of it, like a lot of sponsorship categories were locked. And because sponsorship categories are locked, like you can make so much money with sponsorships, especially in Year One and Year Two. But because so many categories were locked, and because Fanatics dropped the ball on merch, it became really hard, I think, for a lot of teams to start selling sponsorships. Like, we had T-Mobile, right? T-Mobile really fucking owned. But then T-Mobile sponsored the league, and the league had T-Mobile. And then it, like, kind of devalues your sponsorship because it's like, oh, I could pay Outlaws money, or I could just get the whole freaking league. And every time that the league steals a sponsorship category or takes a big sponsorship, it just like hurts the team's ability to make money theoretically. I mean, not even theoretically, just straight up. Like if, let's say Outlaws wanted to sign with like Pepsi, or like PepsiCo wants to like sign with the Outlaws, but then Overwatch League is like pushing Coke down your throat. Like Pepsi's not going to want to put money into Outlaws, like because Coke is just always going to be there next to them. And then like the same thing with Twitch. There's some brands that just aren't capable of advertising on Twitch because they're in conflict with Amazon. And so Amazon will just like straight up block them. And so that hurts some things. Like in the context of some of the Outlaw sponsorships, I know that there was at least one where like our company is not able to like sell on Twitch or be advertised on Twitch or any Amazon products. So therefore, we'll put our shit on your jerseys to get around that. But like, I don't know, profitability is hard. in general in esports all the time, solely because of it, like the way that prize pools are split. But viewership drives everything, right? Like the more people that are watching Overwatch League, the more money is going to come in. Like sponsorship deals are generally the biggest revenue income for any esports team, I'd imagine. I don't think that merch is like the end all be all, but I think that having like a storefront that like actually functions is very beneficial and just gives you like more opportunities to sell sponsorships. Like the more merch, the more shirts you have, the more logos you can put on them, right? Like I don't know. Is COVID going to pose a huge challenge to Owl in the quest for profitability? Could it be the death? I don't think so. If anything, I think COVID kind of made Owl, I don't want to say better, but it gave it time. Does that make sense? Because I'm of the opinion that Overwatch right now is like not doing so well, and everyone gets mad at me for that opinion. They're like, "Oh, Flame hates Overwatch," blah 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 blah. But like people forget that like I loved Overwatch for a very long time, and I used to pump content out for Overwatch literally every single day for like years. But when the game gets boring, or when it gets stale in your opinion, there's like nothing you can do about it. And I feel like a lot of people are at that point. But I feel like COVID, if Overwatch League was gonna do terribly on YouTube, right? Like if you can make the argument right now that COVID's making YouTube worse, but if YouTube was going to be bad no matter what, like let's say Overwatch League normally would have gotten 50,000 viewers and because of COVID it's getting 40 or 30. It kind of gives Overwatch League like time because you could blame a lot of the downfalls of this season on COVID, be like, oh, you know, we were supposed to go to homestands, none of this was going to work, blah, 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 but like COVID made everything bad. So like you can kind of push a lot of the discussion back to COVID, which means that maybe yeah, exactly. But I'm saying like next year, if Overwatch 2 comes out before next season, which I think there's probably a pretty high chance that that happens, then I would say that there's a pretty good chance that the game rejuvenates itself and the player base like spikes again, and then we get like a big influx of like viewers or just people playing the game, which could theoretically pump the numbers back up and we'll see growth for the first time, because I feel like we've been on a decline since season 1. But by the time like season 4 comes around, if Overwatch 2 comes out, then the graphs might start coming up. I feel like every graph has been on a steady decline. Hold on, I need to like go one at a time. Are there abundant opportunities in leagues like Overwatch League for software engineers? I mean, software engineer jobs are not going anywhere. I don't know about software engineers from like a team, maybe like for leagues, because there's a lot of data analysis and like web and stuff. But I don't know about everything. Did I ever meet Neil Liebman? Yes, he wasn't super. I don't think he was super involved back then. He had like he showed up for like the fuel match. He was actually really chill. I liked him a lot. I met his family. He wasn't super hands-on though, but I don't really know that much about it because he worked more with like Chris Chaney and like Ryan Musselman and stuff at the top. But every interaction I had with him was very positive. He seems like a very happy, like excited guy, and like I don't know, I don't want to say I miss him, but he was definitely someone that I thought was really like cool and good for esports. When am I becoming the first Overwatch 2 pro? Not soon enough. Thoughts on half the Dallas roster looking like they're just done with Overwatch and collecting a paycheck? I mean, I don't think that that's like a Dallas problem, or I don't think that's like a Dallas only problem, right? Like I think that some players got longer contracts under the assumption that the game would like, tickle their fancy, for lack of a better term, and then now that it doesn't, they feel very like helpless, which is why you're seeing players retire. And a lot more people potentially retiring in the future. I don't think that the retirement stream is over by any means. Would you ever want to work in Owl again, but in a different role? I think if I was going to work in Owl or like any league setting again, I'd either want to do content creation from the outside or work directly for the league on the inside, because it's just like safer and less reliant on like people's moods, if that makes sense. Like after being on a team that got sold twice, it's like like that could happen to any org. It's not gonna happen to any org, obviously. There's some orgs where it's less likely to happen, but after being on a team that got sold twice, I'm like super just like jaded in my view of like how esports as a investor project functions. It's like it's so weird. Some teams have it good, some teams have it bad. but whatever. They'll make Overwatch PvP free to play once Overwatch 2 comes out. I don't know. Maybe, depending on how they monetize the store, like the skins in that game. I don't know what they're going to do, but if they monetize correctly, then they probably could do that, assuming that they keep like the 2FA rule for top 500 in comp. Free to play is just like a weird cheater question, and I think that's like, I think they probably make a lot of money off cheaters, to be honest, like remaking accounts in Smurfs. Have you read Matthew Ball's long-ass post on the risk of recent pivot towards league-type structures? No. Do you like the current OWL commissioner? I actually have only met him like twice, so I don't really have an opinion on him. Like, I miss Nate, but Nate was just like a really chill dude. Or I missed Nate. I don't really miss Nate that anymore because I don't work in the league, but Nate was pretty chill. I mean, Nate had some like weird takes, but like at the end of the day, Nate was very player centric, and he was also very talent centric, and he kind of just like wanted to do what people wanted to do. He wasn't like trying to push agendas. I feel like he left because people were pushing agendas on him that he didn't want. Do you think homestands more so serve as an advertising purpose? And the real money is from, yeah, I already answered that kind of, but I mean, yeah, homestand, I mean, everything's, I don't think any team makes a lot of money off of live events. Like, I don't know, unless you're like cranking up ticket sales, but if you're going to crank up ticket sales, you need to be like pumping out a shitload of value for that one ticket. And I don't know many sports that do that well. I don't know what the average attendance is for like NFL games anymore, but I feel like it has to be less than before, but I don't know how much of that is cost and how much money comes in from an NFL team's like stores, for example. How much of a disaster was Titans management dealing with the old runaway players? I mean, this is twofold, right? It's like the runaway players might have had crazy demands. The problem, Korea is such a weird like thing for me to talk about because I don't know everything well enough. But the way that Runaway pitched themselves that season, because I remember wanting to sign Stitch in season 2, and then being told like, no, you take the whole team or nothing. And a lot of the players were also just like, I want the whole team or nothing. It wasn't just like the org that was saying that. So like, do I think that this crisis maybe could have been avoided? Yes. Do I think that maybe there was some ego going on where the players felt like they were super valuable as a group and then that caused more commotion? Yes. Do I think Titans dropped the ball as a management group? 100%. But it was more like a perfect storm of everything. For the video, you should have captured chat. But if I capture chat and someone drops like a hard R or something stupid, or like someone comes in and spams dumb shit, then I immediately have to delete the VOD and do video editing. So I don't know if that's true. What kind of soft skills are important in esports, and how can you effectively sell those skills when you don't have much on hard experience? Hang on each. I'll get your question after. I didn't see that. Soft skills? It depends on what position you're in. I would say stress and time management are definitely the two biggest make or break skills for esports. I don't know how much, like, I mean, social skills are obviously a big part of it, right? Like, you need to be able to get on conversations or have calls and have good conversations and make people like you, because that's at the end of the day what's going to sell the most of anything. Like, if you talk to a potential sponsor and they just think you're an asshole, or they don't want to talk to you, or you sound disinterested, stuff like that, then that's never going to go well. So like, you actually do have to be personable. I think personability is like a pretty big, driving point for anyone. Stress management, I think, is also big because a lot of esports jobs are on contracts, and they're on contracts that you can never really trust. I think a lot of people don't trust their esports contracts. Overwatch League players have it differently, but staff don't. I think a lot of coaches and management and even like people not related directly to the team always feel like they're on thin ice, because at like the snap of anyone's fingers, you could just get fired, which is essentially like what happened or what happens in general. So that's a big one. Like, if you can't deal with that pressure or that thought or like that idea of like, I could literally lose my job tomorrow and be fucked, then you're going to have a hard time. Not that that's a good thing, and I'm not saying that that's like how it should be, but that's kind of how it is. Um, and then time management, mostly because there's no hours for esports. Like you're just kind of stuck. Like if your boss wants you to come in at 9, which happens to some orgs, then you're literally just screwed because there's very few esports jobs that end at 5 p.m. Most esports jobs like start at 5 p.m. There were like so many days where I'd be up from like 4 p.m. doing work to like 4 o'clock in the morning, like fixing something or doing something or thinking about something or like trying to, solve some problem. And it'll consume you pretty fast if you don't have like the ability to do it. Any thoughts on the rumor of C9 wanting out of the league? I don't think that I don't think it's crazy. Like, I don't know. I don't really have thoughts on it. I feel like multiple teams probably regret investing or at this current moment regret investing. So it's not that shocking. The problem is that like now we're at this point where I feel like it's hard to find buyers. Like it took Outlaws so long to get bought, right? Like Outlaws is one of like the most popular brandable whatever you want to say teams in the league. And if you can't sell that like easily, then like how easily can other teams sell? Like I don't know, especially like C9 or like any of the European teams. Like how much demand is there in an online league? It's kind of weird. Do you think Valorant's pre-release marketing strategy is going to become standard for aspiring esport game releases? No, because I feel like Valorant's pre-release marketing strategy, well, okay, I think that there's the idea of pre-release marketing is good. I don't think the way Valorant did it was good. I don't think giving Twitch chat access to your beta was ever going to create like some inclusive, happy, intelligent player base to give good feedback. Like literally, I've had this conversation before, but Valorant's active player base right now is literally Twitch chat. It's like, and it's not even like good Twitch chat. It's like the kind of people that spam in Twitch chat. Like, it's so bad. Did you get to sign everyone you wanted for season 3 that includes coaching staff? No. I lost out on a few players. I mean, I wanted Space. I mean, that was before Meko. I wanted Tailspin, but that got complicated. I don't know. It's not really that important, but I didn't get it. You very rarely get everyone you want anyway. How's Coolmat holding up? I have no idea. I haven't spoken to him much other than him trying to get me to play Last Oasis. What other Owl Teams org staff have impressed you? Philly, Shock, Bitfire. Who else? The word impressed is weird because impressed implies a lot of things. Soul. I don't really know that many teams like staff those. So those are the ones that are like open, like obviously impressed me, but I don't know the actual answer to that question. Like I don't want to say that there's other teams that are bad or something. Blah, 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 blah. Where are we? Which Owl teams treat their players well? I feel like most of them. I don't know. Like the problem now is that like the orgs don't really have control over how the players are treated, right? It's mostly like you're showing up to work and you're practicing and that's it. Especially now that there's no concept of going into work. Like if there's no office and you're not traveling, then you can't really complain anymore, right? At least about like the way that your org's treating you, unless they're like actually actively abusing you and their coaching staff is like forcing you to work like a million hours a week and it's like burning you. Like I haven't really heard any horror stories this week or this year about like players being overworked or like treated terribly, mostly because any complaints about like travel are gone and I don't think Owl guarantees housing anymore. So like the players can't really complain about their housing situation, especially because they all make enough money to get their own housing. For the most part, I don't want to say everyone, but you know what I mean? Like I feel like nobody really gets paid like or treated poorly enough to where it's like a risk. Like I think the Titan situation where they were living in a hotel is like dumb, but I don't know how dumb it actually would have been if they were traveling every week. So like you can blame COVID maybe for some of that, but like before COVID killed all the travel, we were only practicing in our office like 3 days a week. And if you're only in that hotel room 3 days a week for the entire season, is it really that bad? Like I don't know. Like that's the other side. But obviously when you're stuck there every single day and you're literally just living in a college dorm with like a shower, a generic bed, and that's it, like obviously it's trash. So I don't blame them for getting upset about it, but I don't know how bad of an idea it was initially. Is there any credence to what Carter said about C9 trialing to pull out before season 2? I have no idea, dude. I feel like pulling out is weird. Like you would just sell. Like why wouldn't they just put the team up for sale? I like how do you pull out? What do you mean? You're just like I don't want to be in here anymore. Take the money and go. Like you would definitely just sell. But they could still sell. If Outlaws could sell, like if the Outlaw situation could happen, then C9 could do it too, right? I don't know like what that conversation is. Like I don't know how that conversation came up or like how like why it wouldn't like why they couldn't just sell right now if they actually wanted to. Like they could be up for sale. Like we don't know, but as in terms of like pulling an entire team out of the league, like that just seems like you couldn't do that. Like you can't just like decide one day that like oh yeah, the New York Giants just aren't going to play in the NFL anymore. Like I'm done. Like you would just sell the New York slot to someone else in the NFL. So like I don't really understand that thought anyway. What do you think is the best way to increase viewership on YouTube? I think Overwatch's in-game economy and like storefront is like the least impressive in-game economy and storefront that exists in any modern day game. And I feel like you can steal a lot of viewers just by like incentivizing growth in said store. Like there's so many games that just like you go into Warzone, there's like a massive store. You can earn stuff, you can buy cool stuff, you get like dope skins, you can like customize your character, buy taunts, like buy all this really dope shit. And a lot of it costs money, but they're like even like Destiny, everyone hates Destiny. But like literally, if watching Overwatch League got you fucking bright dust for Destiny, people would watch Overwatch League. Because there's at least like an economy in the game where there's like a currency that you want to buy cool looking shit. But instead, they just give you tokens, which give you like a reskinned version of a different skin that's just an Overwatch League skin. And if you have your favorite team on your favorite hero, it's like so bad. It's like so useless. It's actually so useless. Literally, if you paid Bungie right now and said, go watch Overwatch League, you'll get free Bright Dust. You will literally get like 100,000, there will be like 500,000 people watching the next Overwatch League broadcast. Like, just think about that. And that's like a different game. Imagine if you just told the WoW player base, you'll get free gold or like free Blizz tokens, whatever those things are called that you can like buy your subscription with from watching Overwatch League. You will actually just like blow up viewership. So like, I feel like the game is just so bad at monetizing its in-game currency and just like its store is so bad that there's no way to do it without fixing that first. Like when Dota was brand new, there were so many items you could only get from watching. Even now, I think there's still items you can get from watching in Dota. And I know CS had like the loot box drops and the skins and like all the stuff you could get from just watching a tournament on Twitch or on anything or in-game you could watch it. But like the fact that Overwatch doesn't have that at the most basic level is mind-blowing. Blah, blah, blah. If you could go back, hold on, that's a very generic question. What do I think about the Vancouver Titans new lineup? I actually really like it. I just feel bad for them because I feel like they got put into a very shitty situation with short notice, and to an extent, all right, my take on them is I wish that they had messaged me, because if they didn't sign a 2-year guaranteed deal, they fucked up, in my opinion. I don't know what they got, but if they didn't sign a 2-year deal, I feel like they got scammed, because if I were Titans and I wanted second wind, and I was second wind, and I was thinking to myself like, damn, dude, these guys actually have no fucking team. They're about to forfeit the entire season. I would have milked them for a 2-year contract just to like force them to give me 2 years worth of shot, because this shot was obviously going to be skewed. If they only have 1-year contracts that end at the end of the season, I'm be fucking pissed. Because all that means is that they got put in for like a 6-month temporary job where they were guaranteed to suck. Like there's no world where this team was ever going to do well. There's fucking 3 or 4, they're 5, 6, 7 months behind every other team in terms of practice. So like if they only got 1-year contracts, they actually got scammed. And I hope that they sign 2-year deals. I have no idea what they signed, but I hope that they sign 2-year deals. But I think the players are fine. I think that they're all good players. I think individually they could like, perform. I think Dalton's like proven to a lot of people that he's really good and, deserved the spot. I think Rolf's been playing well. KSAA has also been playing really well. Like the players themselves are good. I just hope that they didn't get screwed. How do you think collegiate fits into the conventional growth ladder for esports, either as a player or management coaching? How much credibility does collegiate resume provide from like a play perspective or like from a coaching perspective? I think collegiate would have been a better structure for Overwatch League than the current system. Like, I don't think tier 2 was ever going to work. I think it would have made a lot more sense for like each OWL team to pick a college and then utilize, like, find a way to integrate that college into their tier 2. Let the college handle everything. Let TESPA handle everything. And then let like, let tier 2 just be ran out of the colleges so that there was like some value for the players that were going into Overwatch League, which is literally just a full-time job that potentially ruins your career if you bomb out. I don't know. That's a weird argument. I don't know how easy that would be to implement, because I don't know how easy it would be for like, I know that colleges are giving out esports like scholarships. And so if you're like an 18 to 22-year-old player who has no college education or wants to go to school, like maybe there's a world where collegiate teams could allow players to play online that weren't at the college. But I think that collegiate should have been like the way tier 2 went from the beginning, because it's the only sustainable source of players and money and like infrastructure when everyone's getting, like poached constantly. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a shit show? Okay, Infinite Esports was a shit show, but not for the reasons everyone thinks it was a shit show. It was just a shit show because they were just like blowing so much money. But like the idea behind Infinite was like not terrible. Like Infinite honestly was some of like the best memories for Outlaws. Like all the hate comes from Optic, because Optic got scammed. Outlaws didn't really get scammed or screwed over too heavily by Infinite. Infinite just wastes a lot of money. So I don't like that narrative, at least from my perspective. I think Optic had a lot of things to be pissed off about, and I agree with a lot of their grievances. But from the Outlaws perspective, Infinite was like arguably the golden age, but a lot of money was being blown. Like crazily blown. So it's hard to like, that's a shit show, but it wasn't like we had our own merch company, we had our own content creation company, like, or our own like team for content. We had our own team for videography. We had like our own videographer. We had our own editor. We had like so much shit. Blah, blah, blah. Thoughts on casters pronouncing names differently? It's like really hard to shake a habit. Like I don't really have a big opinion on it. It's like annoying, obviously, but like, I don't know. It's one of those things like unless Jake sits there and practices the correct pronunciation of KSA versus Kasa versus KSAA versus whatever, like he's not going to fix it. And I don't know. It's more just like a reading thing. It's like you read a word a specific way forever and then it just like sticks in your head. Yeah, Marv versus Marvel versus Marv1 versus whatever people say. Do you think Blizzard will ease up the third-party tournament restriction to breathe little? I don't think that them easing restrictions will do anything anymore, because I feel like the time to do that was when Overwatch needed it, which was right before season 1 of OWL. And then when they killed all of the esports for Overwatch that wasn't like MLG produced, which is literally just Activision Blizzard at that point, like every other tournament organizer just kind of got screwed and realized that they weren't ever going to make money because they were never going to get the best talent. Which is why now we're having like community cups that are still Blizzard hosted, but at least they're like filling the gap, but they're letting Overwatch League players play, because they realized that like by restricting who plays in these tournaments, it like ruins any semblance of like viewership or like viability. Why do you think Outlaws went for one of the top teams in season 1 to like 17th? I think that's like a very multifaceted question, but I would say outside stress, coaching stress. I think coaching stress was probably number 1. I think everyone was just really underwater season 2 after the sale went through. And then I think like communication structure was one of those things that never really got fixed, and a lot of that maybe had to do with like not focusing on it enough from a coaching perspective. and like staff perspective, like it's probably my fault as well. Was Neil Liebman involved in the day-to-day? No, but he had like very large talks. Like he had like daily or weekly talks with the investment group or with like the ownership, like the leadership group. I don't know how much Neil Liebman hated what we were spending our money on. I think it was like the other investors that were part of the whole collective. It's hard to. Neil Liebman's like actually one of the coolest people I've ever met. Like he just seems like a very like he's obviously rich as shit, right? Like he's obviously a very wealthy individual and very successful individual in the sports scene. But like when you speak to him, you feel like you're just talking to like a normal, like chill dude who just wants to like see esports succeed. So I like really liked him, but I don't think he was like blindly throwing money at Infinite. I think that there were other people who were upset with what was going on, but I don't know how much it was him. Or I never really got the impression that he was upset or like too pissed or anything. Number one, think ATVI should change internally? I mean, I think I kind of touched on this already, but I actually think that the in-game economy for Overwatch is like so bad. Like I legitimately think that if you removed golden skins and you started selling fucking I don't want to say loot boxes, but like let's say it was like TF2 where when you play you get like a box and then there's like a dollar key, right? Let's say there's like a dollar key for the box and you literally unlock an unusual like scatter gun or like whatever, tracer pistols, unusual tracer pistols or an unusual hat for tracer. And you can only get the keys from watching Owl. Like instantly people are watching Overwatch League. Like it's like millions of people are watching Overwatch League. It's like you can like I feel like skins are like the easiest, most like obvious shit for every single game that ever comes out for like the next 20 years. Until someone comes out with a better idea than like weapon and unusual hats. Like I legitimately don't know why any game wouldn't do it. Like vanity is such a big part of every game now. I feel like there is not a single online multiplayer game where you don't want your character to look cool as fuck. Like I maybe that's just me. I could be wrong. Like maybe everyone in chat's like, Flame, you're an idiot. I don't care what my character looks like. I just want high gear stats. But like if you could get an unusual hat for Tracer by watching Overwatch League, would you not just AFK watch Overwatch League forever? And then eventually maybe you'd enjoy Overwatch League. You'd be like, you know what? I want to see how the Outlaws do this week because at least I'm getting a skin, so I might as well pay attention. Like I actually think the in-game economy for Overwatch is the biggest problem, and I feel like that's 100% on Activision and Blizzard. No one else is going to fix that problem. People love fashion. Like, so many games are driven by fashion. People run old raids in WoW weekly to get fashion. People run shit in Destiny to get fashion. People run shit in every single game for fashion. TF2 is still like a top fucking 5 game on Steam for fashion. Like, Just go all in on fashion. If Overwatch 2 doesn't have unusuals, I'm gonna be so sad because all they have to do is do exactly what I'm saying. Just sell a goddamn chest that only unlocks with a key that you get from watching Overwatch League. And then maybe the key has like a 1 in 100 chance of getting you a cool skin. It's like, it's so easy. That's what I mean. There's nothing to grind for in Overwatch. It's just rank, and your rank is capped, and it gets reset every 3 months. You know what doesn't get reset every 3 months? Your inventory. Like, invest in the inventory. Okay, I'm over that rant. When you played Overwatch, what was your main? Tracer, Mei. I want to say, like, what's it called? What else did I play? Played Symmetra. There's that one good clip of me killing everyone on Symmetra in that one tournament. That was pretty funny. Back when you were originally assembling the Outlaws, were there any particular player that you really wanted to get that you weren't able to sign? Stitch, Carpe, Shadowburn to an extent, but not terribly. And then I forget who else I was thinking. I don't remember. That was like really long ago, but I don't think so. Make Neandroids free. I did play a lot. I actually was the kind of person that like would just tilt and go Widow and then like randomly win. What's up, Rito? Thanks for the sub. Burn down chat. I forgot about that. Yeah, I was gonna go more Korean season 1, but then when I didn't get Stitch, I was like, I don't know what I want. Stitch still remembers that. Stitch remembers me asking him. That was where I met Runner. I actually really like Runner too. Isn't the biggest problem facing Overwatch the fact that the fun heroes are shit and the shit heroes are strong? I mean, that's a problem, but like that's a problem in like a lot of games. Like TF2 was bad for a long. People used to hate TF2 because of pyro, right? They'd be like mouse 1W, and then like you would just die. And they get Power's air blast, and people were like pissed off about that too, right? Like there's that problem exists in like every game. I mean, you could argue that it doesn't exist to an extent. It does in Overwatch. Like maybe like Moira is like too good, or Mercy's too good, or you know like Winston. Winston used to be a lot better than he is right now. Like don't forget that. But people will overlook the flaws in your video game if they can make their characters look cool. It's like it's just facts. And you give example of how Infinite were blowing their money. So like that block party. Does anyone remember the block party? Did anyone go to the block party? I'm sure someone in here went to the block party. That block party costs like, I want to say like $80,000 or something. Just that one block party. It was like one watch party outside, and they paid for like a mural to be. It was some stupid amount of money for one block party. It was like Mendo showed up. He had like bleached hair. There was a literal Outlaws mural painted on a wall. There was like food trucks. It was like sick. It was actually sick. And that was one instance. There was like the Optic India thing where they invested in like an Indian CS:GO team that just became like, they had like cheaters on it, and the guy like cheated on LAN. That was a colossal waste of money. Like there was so much dumb shit. They were working on like some random phone app at one point. I don't even think that this out. I'm pretty sure this is open information. I just don't think people talk about it. But there was like a phone app that was supposed to like it was like a Southeast Asian like phone app that was supposed to like let you watch Optic games on your phone. And then like by watching Optic games on your phone, you would like get Optic tokens. Then the Optic tokens were gonna like let you buy things in the Optic store. It was like so weird. It was like a mobile game, or it was like I don't even know what it was. It was like a mobile storefront with like a Twitch viewer. It was weird. But they invested in that too, like, and I don't know. It was just there's a lot of random shit that was going on. Hold on, I need water. I'm like actually about to die if I don't get a glass of water right now. Do you think Jake was the MVP of the Outlaws back in the day? It was more like a live by Jake, die by Jake kind of thing. So like I don't know if that's like a fair assertion. Like the word MVP implies a lot. I would say that he was like the crutch for a while, yeah. Like without him talking, it was like the team would like fall apart, and that was definitely like a big problem. Was Spitfire's season 1 victory legit or an extreme fluke? That's like a weird question because playoff runs happen in every sport, right? Like there's not really a sport where that does. Like I don't remember what year it was. I remember being a kid and watching the Giants come in from the wild card and beat the Patriots, who were like the #1 team and like undefeated that season. And then the Giants just like made a crazy Super Bowl run and beat them, and people will be like, is that a fluke? It's like maybe, but like who gives a shit, right? Like they earned it. I don't know. If you don't show up on match day, you don't show up on match day, and like that's just kind of how it is. Did I watch Runner's version of the State of Overwatch? No, but I didn't even know that was a thing, so I'll give that a look. Would you say it's possible that the Overwatch devs balanced the game around the league, which messed up their intended vision for the game and could be why the game feels worse? I mean, I every time I talk to Jeff Kaplan, which admittedly isn't super often, but like maybe like every 3 or 4 months, I feel like I used to get this impression that like they were making a game for Overwatch League and not making a game for themselves. And when devs are making a game not for themselves, it's always a bad game. There's very few games that have ever come out that weren't just like 1 or 2 people's vision that weren't good. Like I'm pretty sure TF2 was made by like a dev team of like 3 people with like 1 person that was the lead. I think like Destiny initially started off with like a small team, but 1 person was in charge of everything. I think CS:GO was made by a small, or CS 1.6 was made by a small studio. Even Portal was made by a small studio. I think of like other Dota's obviously only been made by like one guy. Like all the best games I feel like are always made by like very small teams with like a very focused vision coming from like one or two people. And when you start putting too many cooks in the kitchen, your game becomes trash. And I feel like that's what happened with Overwatch, but I don't think it's like Jeff or the developers' fault. I feel like they just like had a lot of input that they didn't want, that pushed them in certain directions that they couldn't really control. And if they could go back in time, they would have told everyone to fuck off and just did what they wanted, which is kind of what I think Overwatch 2 is about to be, and why I'm kind of hopeful for Overwatch 2, because I feel like it's finally the devs making the game that they want to make versus the game someone else wants them to make, if that makes sense. Like when I talked to Jeff about Overwatch 2, he was actually really excited about it, and he made it sound like he was finally getting the creative freedom that he wanted to make the game that he had envisioned. Whereas I got the feeling that that's not how things were going previously. Do you still watch Owl? Who do you root for? I still watch Owl. I'm in a vast stream pretty much every weekend watching it. I don't really root for anyone. I just like watching good matches. I don't really have like a favorite team. I never really fanned. I fanned teams in Dota, but I've never really been a fan of teams in Overwatch, if that makes sense. Did you sign Hydration with the intention of having him play both flex DPS and main tank? Yes. Hydration was like one of the most obvious picks on the roster at the time because he plays literally everything. Like if like our supports died, like Hydration could play support. If our tanks died, Hydration could play tank, and if our DPS died, Hydration could play anything. So like he's just a very easy pickup, especially in a traveling situation. If you're trying to like minimize your budget and send like 8 players, you always send Hydration, because if someone gets sick on the road, or someone, you know, like, I don't know, their mouse breaks, if some like catastrophic bullshit happens, Hydration's like the kind of player you just want there just in case, and he's never going to play bad on any character. And so yes, the answer to that question is yes. Aren't the only shit colleges offering scholarship in Overwatch as far as I've seen, so why even bother with college Overwatch? That's, I mean, that's like a chicken and the egg question, right? It's like, do you invest in colleges, or do in colleges invest first? Like I feel like Blizzard has to give colleges a region to invest. Like maybe Blizzard creates like a sponsorship, or like maybe each team in the Overwatch League creates like a sponsorship or a like internship program with each college, right? Let's say like University of Houston wants to make an esports marketing degree, and then the trade-off would be Outlaws will like take 3 interns per year, and the trade-off, like in exchange for University of Houston running their tier 2 team and like managing all of their tier 2 efforts, and the team will be like their farm team essentially. And then Blizzard puts in money for scholarships that comes from Overwatch League, and then like suddenly you've created like this infrastructure of college with Overwatch League, with the teams themselves. Like you could argue that the colleges are shit right now, but I don't know if the colleges are shit right now because there's no money, or because it doesn't make sense for the colleges to do it, right? Like maybe some colleges are so out of the loop when it comes to like being a premier school that they're like, okay, well, we can't get any of the tech people, we can't get any of the arts people, we can't get any of the law people, let's go after esports. And like that's their next push to get, you know, registration upped or applications up. Like it makes sense that a bad school would be like the ones going into esports. Like it seems like a Hail Mary, right? Like fuck it, esports is doing well, let's go into esports, it'll make us do well. Like it makes sense. The same as investors throwing money at esports, as colleges throwing money at esports. Did I see the battle for Texas? No. Can I talk about Benny's departure? Was it mostly his choice? No. No to your second question. I mean, I could talk about it. It just left. Like it was like, I hired new coaches. They were like, let's get a new support. I was like, okay. Told Benny, and a lot of us helped him find a job. And then he found a job. But it wasn't really his choice. Do I really think that Washington is ran by a bad org? What does that mean? I feel like the Washington, there's just like a disconnect at Washington. It's like the upper office with all the money, and then the bottom level with the coaches and the GM. And I feel like there's a massive disconnect between the top and that bottom. I don't think it's the top, because like the investors very rarely have a problem. The investors are very rarely the problem, but there are times where the investors are the problem. I don't know though, but I don't think it's the GM or the coaches. You could argue that maybe it's the coaches with the players, but maybe the coaches aren't in a good position to succeed because of like stuff that's created, like problems that are caused by upper management. Like I have a hard time believing that Anna Lynn's not trying her best to make that team successful with what she's given to work with. Does that make sense? So I don't know. The definition of bad org is like so ambiguous in that question that it's hard to answer. What does Overwatch 2 do for the competitive side? Overwatch already has a casual gold mine. Overwatch 2 just makes it even bigger casual gold mine, but that demographic has shown no interest in the competitive side. I like kind of answer this like just literally add fucking skins. Just literally copy Team Fortress 2 and then put crate keys in the viewer drops and you're done. And the viewership blows up and people farm their stupid hats and then they go into competitive to play with their stupid hats and everyone's just running around with really cool hats, but they're running around with really cool hats they got from watching Overwatch League. And then you grow viewership because now these people who weren't going to ever watch Overwatch League are watching it and they're like, oh, this is cool, I like this. Because now that you're mentally invested in your character, you want to get better with your character. There's like this whole gamer psychology thing that like is such a weird, it's like a weird progression. You're more likely to play a game that you've invested time into. You're more likely to play a game that your time investment is like noticeable. Like no one gives a shit if you have the gold border player icon from like playing 800,000 matches of fucking Overwatch. Like no one cares. Like people are like, haha, nerd, right? You see Muma's like main account. Muma has like what? 1 billion hours of Overwatch in the past 3 years, and his like border is like platinum with like gold shitting out the side of it. It's like, who cares? But if Muma had some fucking dope ass Winston hat, people would be like, yo, that shit's sick. Where'd you get that? Like, you know what I mean? Well, just put hats in the game. So what are things in contracts new players should look for? Should players consult a lawyer? I mean, you should always consult a lawyer. And if not a lawyer, you should at least go to a, like, I don't know, an agent. Not all agents are going to look out for the player's best interests or the talent's best interests. Like there's casters that have gotten screwed. There's players that have gotten screwed by their agents. Like agents are kind of sus sometimes. I'm not going to lie. Not every agent's sus. Not every agency's bad. Not every lawyer's bad. But I would say getting 2 opinions is generally safe. Paying a lawyer, like, I don't know, whatever his hourly fee is to read your contract is probably worth it. Like if you're going to make $100,000 on an annual contract, paying some guy like a couple hundred to read your contract for like a couple hours, or just like finding someone that'll do it for you, not ever gonna not be worth it. I don't know how big of a deal housing is. I think moving costs is a nuanced thing that people should be putting in their contracts. I think like severance, just something people should be putting in their contracts. Like, I think moving costs are I've learned that moving costs are easily the most annoying fucking thing to deal with when you're forced to move for a job that you don't want to move for. Like a lot of players would have rather stayed in LA on every single team. But nobody was really thinking about that at the time. But now I think it's a big deal. It feels like they have... what was the most difficult thing about being the GM? How difficult is such a weird concept. I don't feel like anything was like terribly hard. I think that there's like, I mean, there's definitely stuff that's hard. But some of the stuff that I think is normally hard, I didn't really struggle with because I had a skill set that made it better. Like, I think dealing with player interpersonal matters is like one of the hardest things for a lot of GMs. And I've heard a lot of horror stories from GMs and assistant GMs and coaches about like players not getting along and like toxicity within the team and like, you know, internal conflicts. But like, I never really had that problem because I think I'm really good at getting ahead of it. But I think I'm really good at getting ahead of it because I created a fraternity in college. And so like dealing with like 18-year-olds drama bullshit was like literally my entire college experience. And so like when I got to Outlaws, anytime, like it's very easy to tell when a player's getting mad or when a player's starting to get like upset and like when it's going to snowball. And if you can like stop it before, I wasn't a frat bro. It was a co-ed engineering fraternity. It was literally like a professional engineering fraternity. And I like created it. So it wasn't, I didn't like pledge in. I didn't like get hazed or anything because I made the frat. I can't haze myself. I guess I could have, but I didn't. Trigon, no. Theta Tau. But point being, I think that that's one of the hardest parts is like the interpersonal part, keeping your coaches in line, keeping your players in line, making the players respect the coaches, making the players respect each other, making sure that drama never gets out of line, like making sure you're handling stuff on time. It's a lot of management, but it's a lot of like people skills. And if you don't have people skills, that job's really fucking hard. And if you don't have skills with like young children or any children, like I'm not going to say that the players always act like children, but like when a player with an ego is like bitching, you need to know like how to put them in their place and like also how to talk to them in a way that's not going to piss them off more and like get them to like listen to you without it becoming like a battle. And that's really hard for some people. And I know I come off really aggressive, but like sometimes like I do a very good job of balancing my aggression with like laughter. And a lot of people find me very personable, despite the fact that I feel like I come off very not personable sometimes. But I think it's because I'm good at laughing at the end of stuff and like making it seem like I'm not, you know, ever super serious. Where any of the Alice players hard to deal with. I mean, at times, I don't know. I feel like every team has that. The answer is yes to like every single team. I don't think there was ever like a time where I was like, this is crazy. Or like, I can't deal with this. Or like, you're being super. Like, I never got mad. I think I got mad in season 1 once. But I don't think it was over player bullshit. I think it was over like org versus player bullshit. Do you know if any team tried to sign Kaiser in the offseason before? I have no idea. Kaiser was on Optic Academy. I'll say openly that like I tried my best to never touch Optic Academy or like any of that tier 2 shit from that season because certain people were involved with that team and I didn't want my name even remotely associated with said people. But I know that Kaiser came to Optic Academy and then like immediately tweeted some dumb shit like, I still don't have a PC, fuck this org. And so like I think that made him like really less appealing to a lot of teams after that. Like a lot of people saw that shit. I regret what happened to Tayo. If there's one thing I regret about any influence I had on tier 2, it's what happened to Tayo. Like I'll say that pretty openly. But I like legitimately feel bad for what happened to Tayo because I feel like I was the one who wanted him. Like at the end of the day, I was like, yo, let's sign this kid. He's super fucking marketable. He's like good at the game. He's young. Like people don't really know him. And I met him at World Cup, whatever year that was, 2017. And I was like, yo, this kid owns. And then they signed him, and then everything that could go bad happened. Like everything bad that could happen happened. And then I feel like I kind of fucked his career in some capacity, but I feel like he's doing well now. I just wish that if I could go back in time, I would have undone that because I didn't know that the fucking academy team was about to implode the next week. I think Tayo has a bright future in whatever game he plays because he's like actually giga marketable. Were the rumors about players demanding first class fights true? I do not think so. I cannot imagine a single fucking player thinking that an org was going to drop $10,000 a flight for them when they're flying like 10,000 times a season. Thoughts on players with guaranteed leaving and risking it in a new game? I mean, you say risking it, but if Sinatra got a fat contract and it's guaranteed and it's similar to the Owl contract, but for more money and he likes the game better, I don't know how much it's risking. Does that make sense? But if he sucks at the game, obviously it was a risk and didn't pay off. But he could probably come back to Owl, I'd imagine. I've heard from multiple sources Fissure is just toxic, and from Siegel's girlfriend, OG hated AKM. And what does that have to do with it? Oh, you're just talking, my bad. That was a question. Who do you think is the best team in Owl right now? It's either Shock or Dragons. But yeah, I don't know. Tayo, I actually feel bad for Tayo because I was the one who wanted to sign. Like, I was the one who told Optic Academy to get Tayo after everyone got fired. There was like one person left on Optic Academy, and I was like, "Yo, get Tayo. This guy owns, and he'll be worth something in the future." Which he would have been worth something in the future. Any Preds who's gonna quit for Valorant soon, except like 1/3 of Fuel? I don't know. I think the Jake for Baby Bay was probably the dumbest trade rumor for Outlaws. I don't remember that many trade rumors. Unless someone has another one. What is visa hell for some players? Visa hell's weird to me because, okay, maybe I'm spoiled because I've only done Korean visas, but I personally handled every single visa application and form submission for the Korean players on our team. and the Europeans. So maybe I'm not spoiled. I had a Finnish visa, a Belgian visa, a bunch of Korean visas. I I don't know. Visa hell's weird because I feel like some teams fucked up by not using the league's main point of contact for visas, which was a specific group of people that I've worked with like multiple times. Like if someone told me to get a player a visa right now without like org support, I could do it. Like I could easily make the phone calls. It would cost money, but I could do it. And it's like it's not that bad of a process, like unless you fuck up. So I don't. Visa hell's weird. Unless your country has really bad restrictions, I also think it may be a lot harder now with COVID. I think signing international talent probably sucks now, but like the Wolves situation and like what happened with the season one Philadelphia Fusion, like I have no idea how any of that happened, to be honest. What do you think about DeFran's exit from Owl? I mean, I don't think he wanted to be an Owl to begin with. I think they just paid him to be their marketing ploy, and I think it worked. I think Atlanta got a lot of fans because of DeFran, so I mean, it paid off. I don't think it was like too. I don't know. It wasn't that bad of an exit, right? He was just like, "Fuck it, I don't want to be here anymore." I don't think it was a bad thing. I think he just got put in a situation he didn't want to be in and did it. I mean, yeah, exactly. You're an ATL fan because of the France. So I think whatever bag they threw at him to sign up that year did really well for them because they got a lot of fans. I mean, like if you looked at Fuel, Fuel got a shitload of fans from XQC in season one. And XQC didn't really play that much, admittedly, right? So like if you look at the Fran, it made sense. Like let's just get a really marketable player that people are going to want to watch regardless of whether or not they play. I mean, I think Chips is doing well for Philly, even if it's like a giant meme. People are watching the Philly matches. Like that first match with Chips playing probably had more viewers than every single map that entire weekend, right? I'd imagine. It has to be true. And so like, I don't know, memes are starting to sell, and I mean, it took Overwatch League like 2 fucking years to realize that memes are, good, or like, stupid content's good content in some capacity. But I think it paid off. Who is your favorite player on Outlaws that I enjoyed working with? Dante was very easy to work with. At least this last year, Dante was definitely the easiest. Linkster has been pretty easy to work with. I'd say Dante. I think Dante actually is like a pretty good example of like a player that people should aspire to be in some capacity. Like he says a lot of dumb shit, but he's very like he knows when to listen and when to like put up a fight and when to back down, which I think is a good skill to have. What do you think, Nate? Do you think Nate Nanzer's departure hurt the league a lot? I don't know about a lot. I think I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to comment because I didn't deal with Nate too much. Like everything that happened after Nate left, I don't know if it would have happened if Nate hadn't left. I think Nate would have handled a lot of shit differently. Like I think a lot of stuff got hidden because the league thought that the players were going to leak, but then like the irony was that the league leaked like 10 million more things than any of the teams. Like how much shit got leaked because of the league in the past year and how much shit got leaked because of the players. Like there was very few things leaked because of the players. There was like that one thing where they were like, didn't Fissure, I mean Fissure was like out of the league at that point, but like I feel like the Fissure leak was like a drop in the bucket compared to how much shit the league leaked. So like I feel like Nate would have been more on top of stuff like that, or at least like, I don't know, change the way that the league interacted with the teams. I feel like Nate leaving, like, there was one day where like a player was like, I don't know, doing dumb shit, and I didn't know how to handle it, and I just texted Nate like, hey, how do I fix this? And then he like sent someone from Blizzard to like come help me and like talk to me about like how to solve the situation or whatever. But like Nate was like super fucking easy to work with. Like you just like text him and say like, hey, I need help, and he'd be like, oh, I'll help you. And that kind of like went away after, more or less because I think there was like this like understanding that Nate was never gonna fuck you over because he was like very genuine of a human being. Like you knew if Nate was pissed at you, but even if Nate was pissed at you, he like smiled about it, and like you knew that like there was like a understanding of like, what's the word, trust. So I don't know. Nate changed the whole atmosphere of Overwatch League because I think his like culture was very unique in that he was stern, but he listened to he took feedback as like a good human being. Does that make sense? Like he was just like a genuinely very good human being that you could tell wasn't necessarily in it for the money. He just wanted to like see his product succeed. And so he did a lot of good shit. But I think I don't know how many. I don't know what working under Nate was like. Like I don't know if people hated working under Nate or maybe a lot of people at Blizzard hate Nate. But from like the team perspective, I like really appreciated Nate. Can you talk about the future of Owl and Overwatch? How will it look in 2-3 years? I mean, that's really dependent on Overwatch 2, I think, right now. I think if Overwatch adds fucking raids, like hard PvE content that people like play and grind and like, you know, get cool shit from, like the game can pop off again. Do you think Monty is burning a lot of bridges with his aggro tweeting at Owl? No. Actually, no. Because okay, you have to realize one thing. You have to realize a couple things about Overwatch League. First of all, Overwatch League isn't, unless Monty's about to go try to work for Activision, I don't think so, right? Like, I think that there's a lot of people within Blizzard, within Overwatch League, that like probably agree with Monty in some capacity on a lot of the stuff that he says. Whether or not it's like too aggressive is like a different problem. But like, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of dumb shit that I've said, right? That's like pissed off people at Blizzard. That's like a never-ending thing that like will happen till the end of time. I will always randomly say something that pisses off somebody. Like, you guys remember, I was literally banned from casting Overwatch for like saying I didn't like the game when it came out. Like, I pissed off one developer so bad that they like literally banned me from doing Overwatch content in any official capacity. But at the same time, there's so many people at Blizzard that really like me. They're really good friends with me. They think that like I could, you know, like they want more of my thoughts on stuff. Like they want my feedback. So it's like, you burn bridges, but like you really have to go specific. You have to like attack a specific person to like burn a bridge. Like, I don't think, like if I say like Outlaws sucks, like I'm not gonna piss off anyone that works at Outlaws. I'll piss off like maybe one person at Outlaws. But like, you think like the random person that works at Outlaws is gonna be like, oh my god, Flame, I hate Flame now. He said that this team sucks. Like that's not how that works. Like if Monty says Overwatch League sucks, there's probably like 10 million people working at Blizzard that are like, fuck, like I agree, this sucks. Like, you know, like you have to like, I don't know, you have to like view it in like this, like even now, my biggest fear now, like I was thinking about this for the past month because I've been sitting in a fucking house in a state that I don't really want to live in because I'm just like stuck here. And I was thinking like, okay, how do I burn bridges? And like if I say something bad about like the way Justice is handling their roster, right? Maybe there's coaches, maybe there's players, maybe there's managers at Justice that agree with me, right? And they're like, fuck yeah, at least someone's saying it, right? And I feel like stuff like that happens in every single team and across all the industry. So it's like, you really, really have to try to burn a bridge. Like, I don't think Nate's going to try to or I don't think Monty's going to go try to work for Overwatch League ever again. And as long as that's true, I don't think that the Overwatch specific, like I don't think the Overwatch team doesn't like Monty. I don't think like the people who make Overwatch don't like Monty. I don't think people who fucking work on the league don't like Monty, right? Maybe there's like one or two people who are like, oh my god, Monty is attacking my specific job and my specific role, which is like what he did with Pete Vaselica. But again, if Monty has no intention of ever working with Pete Vaselica ever in his life again, does it really matter that he burnt the bridge? Not really. Like, burning bridges is like a weird concept to me because I feel like you really have to go out of your way to burn a bridge in a way that's going to like create an irreparable tear in your content stream or like your, you know, your general view. The like Custa thing, people blew out of proportion because I think what Monty was trying to say is, you've been streaming more Valorant than Overwatch. Here's your numbers and Sinatra's numbers since quitting Overwatch. I think it was more just like, what you're saying is Monty never wants to work with Custa. Potentially, yes. But again, he's burning a bridge with Custa. If Monty, in his head, thinks there is no world where I will ever work with Custa again, which there are people in my history that I will say I will never work with again, then like I am not afraid to burn the bridge. Like, but again, if Monty never wants to work with Custa again, and he's like firm on that, which it's not crazy to be firm on that, then I think it's fine. Right? Like, he burnt a bridge. Who cares? It's his own bridge to burn. There's like so many people that I would never want to fucking work with again. And so like, I'm not going to actively go out of my way to burn the bridge. Does that make sense? So like, it's like, burning bridges is like such a weird thought. It's like, oh my god, he's burning so many bridges. But like, if you're firm on your bridge burning, then it doesn't fucking matter. It like does not fucking matter. If you had a contenders team now, how would you encourage your players? The contenders players? I have no idea, dude. Contenders need so much work. Did the Arhan signing have the effect you were hoping for? You mentioned that you wanted to like bring in his work ethics to the practice room. Not really, because I think Arhan. I mean, I don't really want to down talk Arhan. I think Arhan tried his best with what he was given. I don't think he was given that much though. Like Arhan's English got really good at the end, but I feel like he was just not. He was like too shy. Arhan's like one of like the best, or he was one of the best like callers I think on the DPS position for Korea. But I think that did not translate well to an NA team because I feel like he was always insecure about his English speaking, which I think happens to a lot of players. I think it just didn't pay off. But obviously, I don't think that Arhan brought like some massive value, but I think that like he would have brought a lot of value to another Korean team. Are the rumors about Surefour is S4 Surefour being hard to coach true? I have no idea. I've never coached Surefour. Did you see the Lemon Challenge in person? No, actually. Is Montia? No. How would it be to show in a rank game? How sick would it be to show in a rank game with raid gear? Agreed, Nathan Watson. That is exactly what I'm saying. Would you want to see Destiny develop an esports scene? Not without anti-cheat and dedicated servers. No. How much longer do you see Owl going for? Probably another 4 years at least. I really do think Overwatch 2 is gonna like boost. If the graphs of viewership go up at any point, then then it's in a good spot. Give examples of what? What's my current job in esports? I'm currently unemployed in esports. If you want to support me, feel free to hit that follow button and potentially throw a sub at me. But I don't have a job. I have an open application for a position in gaming that has nothing to do with esports right now, but I don't really want to talk about that until I get it. Does that make sense? Because I don't like jinxing myself or counting my chickens before they hatch. Rumors are that San Francisco Shock and Boston are the only teams profiting at the moment. Is this true? I have no idea, but I wouldn't not believe it. Boston has done a very good job of selling players for high prices after signing them for low prices, and Shock won a fuckload of money last year and can probably offset their salaries. So I would imagine that if any two teams were making money, it would be those two. I think Fuel could potentially, I don't know what Fuel's salary spending is. I heard it's a lot, but Fuel's got a lot of good sponsors right now, and I'd imagine for a decent amount of money. But I have no idea. Also, thank you for the sub, Buck Eaters. I really appreciate it. Do you think there's any game that recreates what Overwatch has? What does that mean? What are you implying with that question? What do you mean? What do you mean what it has? You mean like the allure, the like inclusivity, the fact that people want to play it, the fact that people relate to characters? No, I don't think any other game will ever do it as well, because I think Overwatch's cinematics before launch actually did a really good job of creating some sort of personability to the characters, and like you want to see the characters, you want to see Tracer, people want to see the Widowmaker lore, people love that shit. I don't think any game will be able to recreate the community unless like Team Fortress 3 comes out. I do not see another game doing what Overwatch did in any short term. Like, you need to make another new game. Thank you so much for the sub, Doc Toxic. Why are my alerts not working? Like, bruh. Yeah, Valve does not count to 3. Although I heard that the end, not even Valorant, no. I do not think that the Valorant characters are like bad bots, dude. You compare the Valorant voice lines to to Overwatch beta voice lines. You play like Valorant, you hear like the same 5 fucking voice lines over and over, and it's like, ha, we killed them, but they're us. Ha ha ha. It's like so fucking corny. But like Overwatch, it's like the characters like interact with each other. There's like horror videos, like comics. I don't know. Overwatch did a very good job of making you care about the characters before the game came out. Have you heard about Twitch Prime? Good point. How close are you to signing Carpe? Not that close, because there was a lot of drama on that FaZe roster, and it was like Team Raucous versus Team Shadowburn, and that just like created like a weird rift. That drama was super fucking stupid in retrospect, but I don't really want to go too far into it. But that's kind of what happened. There was like the FaZe roster at that time was like split down the middle, and then obviously Team Shadowburn became Philadelphia Fusion, and then Team Raucous. We actually got, it was literally a 50-50 split, right? We wound up with Fact Fiction, Spree, and Raucous. And then they got Carpe, Joe Meister, and Shadowburn. Yeah. Why do you think Soul's performance are so irregular? I don't know. They could. It's probably like every team that plays bad, I blame on communication because Overwatch is a pretty fundamental game or a pretty easy game when you think about it. There's a few characters that are like very high skill, but for the most part, it's literally just ult usage, positioning, and like communication and like playing with your team. And if you have a broken piece of team play, then like your team is just bad. And that's just the never-ending loop of Overwatch. Like it's very hard to solo carry unless you're like Carpet playing Widowmaker. So I don't know. Any juice on what happened behind the scenes? I have no idea. I think that they just got pissed off. There was just a lot of like mismanagement stuff. I don't really have like specifics. I know specifics. I don't really want to go into like Titan's dirty laundry. I just think it was just like a big shitstorm. It was like a perfect storm of like bad timing. Do you think Kaluj should have been allowed to join Overwatch League? I don't know enough about the Kaluj story to like appropriately comment on it. I think if Sato was allowed to get banned for a year, I wonder if Sato would have been allowed in if they knew he had boosted before he joined. I don't really want to. I don't want to. I'm not trying to like. What's the word? Compare boosting to what Kaluj has said or done, but I wonder if the repercussions would have been the same for Sato. Like if they would have been like, no. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't want to equivocate because they're not equivalent at all. I think what Kaluj did is worse. I just wonder if Sato had been banned from Owl at the time, like if they knew he had boosted and they banned him, then the Kaluj thing would have been a non-issue because it would have been consistent. But because that didn't happen, I wonder if it had happened, if it would have changed everyone's perspective. But I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, recency is how it works too. Do you think other esports will adopt the localization homestand model? I think there's a lot of value in the localization model. I don't know about the homestand model. I think COD's doing it right. I think if Overwatch League had come out the gate with the COD, like if Overwatch League had listened to like literally everybody and just done tournaments from the beginning instead of a season, I feel like Overwatch League would be completely different. But I feel like homestand model kind of sucks. But like the traveling circus tournament model, I think is really good because at least the fans get more bang for their buck. Like I thought it was really stupid. The second homestand for Outlaws would have been 4 teams, and it would have just been Outlaws 2 days. So like you would have paid like what, like $100 for a pass, and then like your travel and hotel been like $600 for you to watch 2 regular season Outlaws matches. Like who gives a shit? Like they could fucking lose, they could win, you could, and then like the other match you wouldn't even care about. But at least like if you're there to watch a tournament, like you're getting your money's worth, and like, you know, it's exciting, and you can pick a team to cheer for throughout the tournament. Maybe your team gets knocked out, you become a fan of a different team for that like hour that you're sitting there. Like I don't know, that like I actually hated the homestand model from like the sheer perspective of the homestand. If you could pick one player to be the MVP of the past 3 years, who would it be? Probably Carpe. I love coaching in Overwatch, but the game isn't having a good statement now. What would you suggest for me? I was about to make tier 2. Make content and then post it on Reddit and then get people to click it and then get people to like it. I don't, it's like, or go watch. My problem with Valorant right now is like I feel like I will never be caught up to CS players in that game. Like I will just never understand why someone smoked a specific angle without me sitting there for like 100 bazillion hours. Like when Overwatch came out, people who played TF2 felt kind of like at home. And I feel like with Valorant, people who played CS feel kind of like at home. So like I feel like the CS scene will overtake the Overwatch and TF2 scene in that game handedly for a very long time. But if you're into CS and like you understand CS's core concepts and like stuff like that, I would start looking at Valorant as like a coaching opportunity personally. Because to your point, I do think making Overwatch content is very fucking difficult right now. It's like it feels like an uphill battle in Overwatch. Like I even like doing VOD reviews, I used to enjoy it. Now it just seems really hard. Am I crazy that I don't find Valorant interesting at all? The characters have no interest. The gameplay is slow. No, I mean I think that there's like it's a completely different genre from Overwatch and Team Fortress and Quake and stuff. It's like a slower pace, like more tactical game, and like a lot of it's spent watching and like peeking and hiding. Like I don't know. If you're not into it, you're not into it. If you're into it, you're into it. Like there's really no line. I think there. You're either on one side of it or the other, and if you're not doing either, then like what? Yeah, I mean, it's literally just CS. I mean, to that point, yes, it's literally just CS. Favorite meme content creator? Probably Bad Pachamari. How did the players react to you leaving Outlaws? They were pretty sad. I mean, I saw them the day after we got dinner and they were like pretty devastated, but I mean, whatever, man. You win some, you lose some. Is there anyone you regret not signing that you had the chance to in the past 3 years? Super. Trying to think if there was anyone else. I don't think so. No one like that big. Probably super. That was a long time ago though. That wasn't like that's not like a recent this season thing. That's like a long time ago. What do you think your biggest mistake was in Owl, and how did you learn from it? Oh my god, hold on. Let me go get water again because this is gonna be a long question answer. All right, puppy. Hi. uh, biggest mistake. Fuck. All right. Anyone want to give me some examples of my biggest mistake? Because everyone has opinions. I know you all do. I've seen you all fucking post on Reddit. So, what do you guys think was my biggest mistake? Because I don't know. Nothing's coming. Not signing Buds. Buds kind of. Buds kind of went full Papega. Mendo. Mendo. Okay. Was Mendo a mistake at the moment, or was Mendo a mistake in hindsight? Because I think Mendo was a mistake, but I don't know if I don't know if going back in time to like that moment when I signed him, if it was a mistake. Like his contract wasn't super expensive, he was super marketable. And he actually, like, in the off season, man, in the off season before Overwatch League, when we all moved to LA and we all had shit to do and we were all so busy and we were moving, Mendo was like so fucking helpful, dude. Mendo was so helpful in the time leading up to season 1. And then season 1 happened and it kind of, I mean, season 1 was just a mess, but I don't know that I don't think I would say Mendo was a mistake. Like, afterwards, I would say Mendo was a mistake, but I don't think I made the mistake. Does that make sense? Well, removing someone, it's like the guy who, it's like really hard to remove people. Stopping the Discord companion streams, that's true. Making content, that's true. I think stopping making content, but it was so hard to make content, so I don't know. The companion streams I agree with. Focusing on marketability so much that it hindered winning. Yeah, but I guess like my take on everything was like I was really big on. No, Stitch wasn't a mistake. I tried to get Stitch, but Stitch didn't work, or Stitch didn't want to come because Runaway wanted to stay together, and then they did stay together. He didn't refuse though, right? Because it's a fine line going for the Rockets group of phase instead of Carpe. Carpe's salary, I think, wound up being too high, like at the end of the day, for us to pay for that year anyway. So we weren't gonna get Carpe. I think Carpe got outbid, and it was very obvious which side to go for. Does that make sense? I don't think we were ever gonna pay Carpe how much he needed to get paid season 1. Not setting a Tracer player sooner. That's a good one from season 1. I agree with that. Can I leak salaries? I don't actually know. I don't know that many salaries, to be honest. Not concrete anyway. Not enough to like where I could leak it in any like good conscience. Why sign Hydration and Blase? Because Hydration was supposed to be the backup main tank / flex player. And Blase, I got a very lucrative deal for Blase that made signing Blase a no-brainer. And so, unless the roster was maxed on size, which it wasn't, there was no reason not to sign Blase. Like, I had been going after Hydration for a majority of the offseason, and then I was given the opportunity to take Blase. And then I took Blase because it was just like, yes. No, they didn't pay me to take Blase. I was not paid to take Blase. Toughest roadblock? I think the toughest roadblock was the fumble that was upper management not offering the correct amount of money to Junkbuck and Krusty when we had the chance to get Junkbuck and Krusty. I think that was the biggest fumble, but that was the biggest roadblock for me, but I was not responsible for that. That was a fucking fumble. Is Hydration main tank in the top half of the league? In the offseason, maybe. I don't know about now, because I don't know how much he's played it. Obviously, I don't know. I don't know like how that works. You could have gotten all 3. Potentially, yes. You probably knew Jake was retiring when you made Blase and Hydration signings. Yeah, I mean, 100%. I knew Jake was retiring like a long time ago. Kai signing? I don't regret Kai. Kai is a tough cookie because I feel like Kai has a really bad reputation because he says a lot of dumb shit. But like Kai was very good at telling players to shut the hell up. Junkbuck wasn't an owl in season 1. Junkbuck was still like a tier 2 coach or something. And Krusty was available when he quit Boston and had no team. That was season 1. Do you think you were too loyal to Tyrong for too long? I don't know that there was a better option than Tyrong at any point. And I like throughout the times where there were chances to make changes to the coaching staff, there wasn't really budget for it. And it was more of one of those like hold on to what you have because you might not be able to replace it. Kind of like it was weird. That between the season 1 to season 2 transition was like so fucking bad that like cutting players wasn't really an option because the odds of you getting a new player in their place was like 0. Like with the way things were going. Blase is really good. And yes, I could have gotten all 3. Is Tyrong looking for a new team? I don't know what Tyrong's going pretty hard on Valorant right now, but I have no idea what his plans are. Tyrong would have made a better like management person, I think. I don't think he wants to coach Western players ever again. I think it was too hard on his mental. Tyrong wanted to sign Krusty and Junkbuck, and then they were offered insulting salaries, and then they went with Shock. It was bad. I wasn't in charge of that. I wasn't in charge of salaries. Biggest miss sign that did not end up worth it. Miss sign? I don't know about miss sign. I feel like Spree got the short end of the Outlaws stick for a very long time. I feel like Spree could have been a starter on like a million teams. So I feel like Spree being on Outlaws in retrospect was bad for him, or is bad for him, because he never really gets his chance. But I feel like Spree could have done really fucking well on a lot of teams. What was your philosophy going into season 3 with a half Korean? I think everyone knew that there was just no way you were getting a good like there's no way we were going to get like great, you know, like championship caliber flex supports or off tanks or DPS if we stayed Western. I feel like the tier 2 scene has been in shambles for so fucking long that like I don't even know who you're supposed to sign. Like when people say like, oh, every team's going Western, it's like Western tier 2 is just fucking dead. Nobody watches contenders, and the odds of a Korean player just being better are like incredibly high. So like the odd, like if you're gonna make changes, you like almost have to go Korean now. It's like very hard to make an NA team, I think, anymore. Like if we ever see a full NA roster ever again, I'll be pretty shocked. You can go European, maybe, but like there was a world where maybe we got Space, Masa, and like I don't know, Space, Masa, and instead of Repel, like Paintbrush or something. Like that could have been an alternate universe, right? But it was just easier to get Korean players. What did you want to see for the team that never happened? An actual fucking training facility with like a stadium and like, you know, the actual fun stuff of what was promised at the beginning of season 1 of Owl. Kinda. Like I feel like my vision of Overwatch League was like, oh, we're gonna get to stadiums, we're gonna have home crowds and be able to walk around my fucking Overwatch League match like in this crowd, and like it happened once, but like we didn't, I don't know, it was like fake. I was also like giga sick that weekend, so like I don't really have the greatest memories of the Houston homestand. Thoughts on Fact's storyline? Kind of unfortunate, I would say. Did Coolmat have in his contract he didn't have to stream Overwatch? I don't know that there's many players that have forced streaming in their contracts. Did Coolmat ever play ranked? Coolmat played ranked until the end of season 2. Coolmat was like #1 diva on ladder, like from seasons 1 and 2. On like a Smurf account that no one knew was his. Or until like halfway through season 2. He got sick in season 2 and then stopped caring as much, I think. But Coolmat had like a baby diva account that was #1 on ladder, or like just a diva account that was #1 on ladder all of season 1 and 2, I think. He just didn't stream. So yes, Coolmat did play ranked. What about Priel? What was your thought process with the original team you signed? It started with like me wanting to get Muma and Coolmat. And then I went after Raucus. And then I kind of used the 3 of them to like scout other people. Did he not calm either? Coolmat calmed. He just calmed very like minimally, I guess, or like concise. I mean, Coolmat's played a fuckload of games, right? Like he knows how to calm. Do I think like Eastern players outperform Western players for the most part? Or why do I think so? I mean, I think it's more normal. I think like Korean culture, or like I guess Eastern culture is like way more structured, if that makes sense. Like I feel like in America, I can't speak to Eastern society. I have no fucking idea. But like when I think American kids, when I think 14-year-olds in high school in America, I think like I'm gonna be a rebel. I'm gonna do what I want. I hate everyone. I feel like I don't know if this doesn't happen in Korea and China. But I'd imagine it's not to the extent it is in the NA. So I feel like the NA mentality for like kids between like middle school and high school is like a bunch of papegas. Where I would imagine that's a lot more respectful in the East. And so that just like translates directly into work ethic and like adaptability. That's how that'd be like my biggest guess, but I have no idea. But after I got Raucous, I forget what the next process was. I remember being in the car and getting a call from Philly, and they were like, "Do you want Spree?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I just took Spree I just took Spree right there. Linkser. I mean, I obviously went for a marketable team in season 1, but it was like a marketable good team. Is forced streaming not a common thing in Overwatch? No, because a lot of the money for sponsors doesn't come through streaming. Do you believe the YouTube transition was a mistake? No, because I think that Twitch was on a steady decline of viewership, and if YouTube pops off the way that everyone kind of expects YouTube to pop off, it's fine. Like, I don't know how much better the viewership would have been on Twitch. Discoverability is obviously higher on Twitch, but I feel like drops influence the rates a lot of like player, interaction. But I feel like the YouTube was smart from a growth perspective. It gave them access to Google, which probably gave them cheaper ads and better infrastructure for ads. Like I feel like they probably gain a lot marketing wise by going to YouTube that they don't get on Twitch. Twitch is also really fucking papega, right? Like Twitch does some really dumb shit. Does Twitch not do dumb shit? Like how many weeks have you been on Twitter and just been like, oh, what dumb shit is like Twitter or Twitch doing this week? Like, isn't there that thing right now with their safety commission or some shit? Their advisory council. They like come in. It's like dumb shit. It's like just always dumb shit. Twitch always has some dumb shit going on. There was the cat throwing dumb shit. There was like, there's like people who get banned for dumb shit. Like, there's like so much random dumb shit on Twitch. Like, you don't want to be associated with dumb shit. Like YouTube, I feel like the scandals on YouTube are like minimal if there's ever. It's like monetization. People get mad about money on YouTube. They don't get mad about like the sheer concept of YouTube. Does that make sense? I feel like the YouTube transition was smart. Why do you think Korean players leave a Korean team to join a Western team? Meko wanted like the challenge and like the career change. I think teams like I think cultural exchanges between Western and Eastern players is beneficial to both parties. And maybe if you feel like your Korean team or your all English speaking team, your all Korean speaking team is like getting stagnant, it's good to change things up and like take your career to the next step. I don't know. It doesn't feel like they're taking advantage of the infrastructure with YouTube and Google though. I mean, you're not wrong, but how much of that is COVID? How much of that is working remotely? How much of that would require like an entire team of people to be signed on to start abusing the YouTube infrastructure that probably don't even exist at Blizzard yet? Or if they do, they're probably like working from home and it's like a mess. Well, I give it another year or two and see like, I don't know how much they use it. I feel like they have a lot more options though for dedicated servers and like all this other stuff. Yeah, the Google servers are big. Do players pay rent when they live in gamer mansions? If they live in gamer mansions, probably not. If they're in their own apartments, probably. Did you consider getting 12 players, or did you not expect the burnout? When? Thoughts on the LA Valiant? LA Valiant roster. I mean, I'm surprised. Packing 10 big 5-head Giga Brain. I don't know. I feel like that team outperformed everyone's expectations. Everyone's like, you got rid of all my favorite players. This is a fucking budget roster, right? Everyone's like, budget roster, trash roster. But like, I feel like the Valiant are really good right now for like, you know, what people expected. And they're like outperforming. And they're honestly, they might actually be more marketable than last year's roster. So Valiant kind of did work, in my opinion. Which of your staff did you despise getting cut in season 2? I feel like fuck. I feel like Kai getting dropped was really bad because Kai was really fucking good at like getting Tyrong to work with him, if that makes sense. Like when Tyrong was like in a mental rut, Kai was actually very good at like talking to him and stuff. And so I think losing Kai inadvertently made Tyrong's life like 10 times fucking more miserable. I also think Kai's reputation as a coach is like skewed by the fact that he'll like randomly tweet dumb shit. But like as a coach, he was actually hardworking and like put a lot of effort into his like, you know, what he was making or like, you know, what he was trying to accomplish. So I feel like Kai's reputation got shafted by like the fact he got cut essentially twice. But I think that's probably the biggest like transition that had a big impact. Like I mean, the GM role is hard to define. I think every team has different experiences and every team's GMs do different things. But like my experience trying to like be like more of a therapist in some capacity for everyone on the team was super fucking hard, and it got a lot harder when like the coaches and the players were all negative, like in negative mindsets. Like for me, it became really fucking hard. And in some capacity, Kai had his own problems, but he was also really good at like removing problems from like other people. Like he was good at like making Tyrong feel better. He was better at like taking some load off of my shoulders with players. Like, so I don't know. I feel like Kai is probably the answer to that question. Did you expect to see so many players drop during and after season 1? Season 1 was hard for a lot of reasons. If your team wasn't good at like, if your housing wasn't good, if your lifestyle day-to-day wasn't good, if you hated the Blizzard Arena room, like season 1 kind of sucked. What, it was like 40 matches and you were like stuck in that room all day. Season 1 was like a mental fucking strain if you weren't like, if your team didn't have a good mindset or like good atmosphere, and then you were stuck in a fucking 12 by 12 box with no windows 8 hours a day, like it burnt the shit out of you. So I don't know. Thoughts on Muma being benched for hydration? Not really surprised, but I don't know. I haven't really heard from Muma since I got fired. But I think me and Mezzer and Clockwork all being gone probably had a very negative impact on him. But I haven't really caught up with him to ask. Worst GM you've heard of in Owl org, other than current Titans? I haven't really heard any bad GMs. I feel like it's really hard to be a bad GM. There's like really bad presidents, but there's not that many bad GMs. I've heard horror stories about maybe like 1 or 2 teams. I don't know. There's bad president. No, not Huck. I'm not saying that, like president of gaming is a different thing. I'm talking about like actual presidents. There's presidents and there's GMs. Like Outlaws had a president, I was GM. Chris was the president, I was GM. Huck is like both, so that's different. But I haven't heard any bad GMs. Like Huck is still technically GM. So I don't really consider Huck president in that capacity, or not in the way I'm thinking of it. Like Tucker's president, and then I want to say Roston's GM. So like most teams have a president and a GM like cutoff, but I've heard of bad presidents But I haven't really heard that many bad GMs. You could argue that some GMs have made really bad decisions, but making bad decisions is different than being bad at your like just like a bad human being or like a bad person to work with or something. It's different. Which player did you sign that you would consider a mistake in hindsight? I don't really think I made it. I don't think any player is really a mistake. It's like a weird. I don't think there's an answer to that question that's like a good answer. I don't think there's any player be like, I regret signing you. I would say that I regret not giving Fact Fiction another chance. I think I regret not being more aggressive about English coaching for Arhan and the Korean coaches. I don't think I like regret signing anybody. I maybe regret not trying to get more out of them or something, or like not, working harder to overcome any of their obstacles or something. But I mean, I heard Bearhounds is pretty bad, but that's like season 1 and GMs. Like I don't think current GMs anyone. Biggest favorite team so far? Is Toronto? I think Justice. Justice, like, I was looking at the Twitter things today. Someone like linked the Twitter followings and like the social media followings. The Twitter for Justice is like somehow still below like 50K or something, or like right at 50K. Tucker's GM. Tucker's president though, isn't he? I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter. Point is, it's not Philly anyway. Philly is owning. Like, I think Tucker's really fucking good. I think Rawson's really good too. Do you think a lot of flack that people get for being bad GMs come from the org fucking up rather than the GM fucking up? Yes. Like, if you're a GM, right? Like, let's say you're me or anyone. Let's say you're GM of like the Justice right now, and you're like, hey guys, I think we should hire a new head coach. And you're like, here's the people I want. And you start listing like, I want Deepay, I want Tyrong, I want Krusty. And like, let's say all these people are available, and then your president or whoever the fuck is in charge of budgets like, yeah, we're not doing that because it'll take too long and I'm not really in the mood to sign anybody. We don't have the money for it. Like, if you want to do that, you're gonna have to cut all your players. And then you're like, well, I'm not cutting all my players for one coach, so I guess we're not getting a new coach. And then you start losing, and people are like, why didn't they make any changes? And then, like, you can't just, like, go and say, because my org fucked me. Like, you can't be like, my boss fucked my entire life. You can't, like, say that, right? So the GMs just kind of, like, sit there and take the bullets, right? And then it's like, okay, well, everyone thinks I suck at my job, but I tried. Like, you could argue I put too much faith in Tyrong, right? But like no one remembers the fact that Tyrong tried really hard to sign Krusty and Junkbuck. And like I tried really hard to sign Krusty and Junkbuck. But like if you want to go back into revision history and say Flame put too much faith in Tyrong, it's like sure. Sure. Like I don't know. It's all a matter of perception. It's just like a weird thing to. But again, Justice being bad, I don't want to blame Lin. Like I don't think it's Lin's fault. Like I don't want people to think that Lin's a bad GM because Justice sucks. Like I think that narrative's bad. Like even the players who have retired have said good things, so it's weird. Any juice on season 1 Dallas? I've only heard awful things. I don't really have juice on season 1 Dallas is whatever. I mean, they signed an entire roster, it didn't work out, and then they had long contracts. Like I don't know, it's whatever. Obviously, Kaikai had his own opinions, but you've heard Kaikai's vision or views of the season 1 Dallas situation. I mean, like the Seagull story. There were so many stories from that thing. Were you surprised when Seagull retired? No. Like if you're making that much money streaming, or if your stream can be that successful, it's hard to kind of like put that much, right? Like, all right, if your stream is really successful and you can make more than your salary and potentially swap games time to time, like I think you do it. How about season 1 Dragons? I think that they just I think that their players were put in a bad position to succeed. They were like one of the only Chinese speaking teams in that entire building. And like, wasn't there a shitload of scandal about how the players got on the roster? Wasn't there like some shit where like Blizzard China like got paid to put players on the team was so bad. Like obviously like it's not you can't blame the players for that. Like whoever put that team together, like the amount of like blood money that went into making that team was kind of the problem. I don't think that was like on like some of the players just got fucked. Like there were so many people on that team that just like never had a chance because they didn't have a say in anything. When are we getting this Flamin' Seagull 5-hour podcast? Maybe soon. I talked to him about it actually the other day. I don't know when we're gonna do it or what the topics are gonna be or how that's gonna work, but I don't know. I mean, to the point, like I don't know how much Sinatra's contract was. Let's say he was making 150K. If Sinatra can pull 5K viewers a stream and make like 10,000 subs per, he averages 10,000 subs in Valorant or something. Like he's gonna outmake his, his Owl contract, and he's not gonna be put by the pressure of Owl. Like I don't know, people who quit the stream is like, I think it's smart because like there's only a few players that I think could do it right now. Like maybe like Sure4, maybe Super. The players that like have pretty big viewer bases that like want to see them because they're entertaining, but quitting Owl is kind of spooky, right? Yeah, exactly. But the point is like Fearless got fucked. So like people just get fucked. And like if you get fucked by like the people who made the roster, like you can't, I don't know. There was too much drama around that roster's creation and too many leaks that came out after the fact that just like did whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Where was the next question? What skills did you gain as a GM and what is next for you? Fuck. Skills? I've gotten a lot better at dealing with people. I've gotten so much better at dealing with people. I've gotten a lot better at not taking life too seriously. I think right now I'm under a lot of stress because I don't have a job. And so like income's kind of spooky, content creation's kind of spooky, like not having subs on Twitch is like really spooky. Like, am I putting time into, should I put time into Twitch? Should I do more content like this? That's kind of scary. I don't really like, that's one thing I've learned, but stress management and time management are definitely skills that I learned a lot better. I think the ins and outs of like player contracts and visas and stuff like that is another skill I've learned. How to sell sponsorships, how to not sell sponsorships, how to like run an event, like how to make a bad event, what a good event looks like. I don't know that I would want to go back into player management. But I do think I'd want to work on like the esports creation side of things. Like I think that like if Valorant were making a league, I would want to be there to like be like, hey, here's all the dumb shit that happened. Did you ever consider promoting people from GGA? Yeah, but GGA kind of like fell apart before we even had time to sign anybody. Smurf was just like a perfect timing. It was like Shock was like, I want Smurf, and we were like, okay, we'll take Dante. Done. Like that was just like a, but I don't even know how many people were even on GGA by the time that happened. Do you think every Owl player should stream? I think every Owl player should try to grow their brand. I don't know if that necessarily means streaming. You can make YouTube content, but I mean, yeah, theoretically, yes. What players do you think were done truly dirty by orgs? Gods, maybe? Fearless? Otto? Like, that roster? I don't know. Have I been approached by any teams? No. I don't think anyone's hiring. If you're most teams are laying people off, not hiring more people. What problems do you think Outlaws are facing at the moment? Probably being understaffed. Like there's a shitload of stuff that like me and Adam or me and Mezzer would do, and I don't know who could possibly do it. Like I actually have no idea. I feel like being understaffed is probably the biggest thing that they're facing. I feel like this for this esports industry, having a guest like Overwatch, like ZP. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Seagull, like having Seagull to talk about or like bounce ideas off, or just like stop letting me rant and get off topic would be a lot better. Worst scrim experience, season 1 when I had to play for the B roster because we only had 11 players, and I just picked May on I picked May on Junkertown. No, Route 66. I played May on defense against the A team. And all I did was ice block on the cart and make walls and like box myself in so the cart didn't move. And then we would eventually full hold at the end of the point with a blizzard. And they got so fucking mad that people started like punching their desks and shit. It was actually hilarious. For me, not for them. They got mad. That was funny though. Are you thinking about doing VOD reviews again? Yes. That was the season 1 roster though. It was a viable strat. We would go Sombra May. Ask Boink about it. We would go Sombra May, and then the Sombra would die on the cart, and then the May would go on the cart. And then you would just keep doing that the entire map until the clock ran out. You'd eventually win with EMP Blizzard. It was actually God tier in retrospect. I'm actually surprised that more teams don't run it because of how stupid it is. It's foolproof. What players do you think were truly... I already answered that. Without making names, were there any LS players you had to take aside and make them work on a toxic gamer attitude? Jake used to tell people to kill themselves before Owl. Not really. I don't think we ever had any problems internally. Like, there were people who would get mad during scrims, but never like in a way that was like detrimental to the... Like, they would never like go... They would like... They'd maybe bring the mood down for being mad, but they would never like attack their teammates or something. I mean, everyone's talked to Jake about like working on it, right? But at that time, but this was when Sombra could still contest while invisible. Yes. Do you think Owl has the potential for next year? Yes, because Overwatch 2 should come out next year. How toxic was EQO? I have no idea, dude. My interactions with him were so minimal. I think I met EQO during World Cup. I want to say he was on a World Cup roster. If he wasn't, then I didn't meet him. I'm pretty sure I met him at World Cup, but I don't have anything about him. Does Owls have an interim GM now? I have no idea. It's probably cool Matt if anybody. Also on current Owls salaries. Avast says it's pretty inflated. I mean, I think it might be pretty inflated, but next year I'd imagine it's going to go down a lot. Like anyone signing a new contract's probably going to get shit money, but we'll see. It depends. I don't know how many teams are willing to spend that much anymore. Would you consider joining an Overwatch podcast? Yeah, but yeah. I just think it's weird because a lot of the Overwatch content right now is like paid for by Overwatch League. Like everyone's kind of on an Overwatch League salary. Even like a Vast, right? He's making like envy money. But there's like a Dallas Fuel team. So like everyone that has a stake in Overwatch League can't really talk freely about it, which is why I think like Monty's content is probably like better to listen to. Because at least it's not being paid. It's just different. Any thoughts on becoming more involved with the collegiate scene? Yes, I'm at like a crossroads right now because I feel like my biggest value would be like helping someone make or just making a fucking out like a esports management like course. Like here's how to deal with budgets. Here's how to deal with players. Blah 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 blah. Today's lesson is blah 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 blah. And like doing something like that, but I don't really know how to start that. And I feel like right now is not the time to start that. But I feel like collegiate esports education and teams and programs are probably the future in some capacity. Do you see Envy continuing with the death of their tier 2 scene? I mean, Envy will probably exist, right? Because there's probably gonna be Envy Valorant, there's Envy CS, like there's always gonna be Envy. So I don't think they're ever gonna like disappear like that. The name brand is still too valuable, right? Do you think hero pools and 222 are bad for ranked and owl? I think hero pools are bad for owl. I don't think they're bad for ranked. I don't think 222 is bad at all. I think pick ban might be better, but they're never gonna do that, it seems. So it's like I think they could be better, but the solution is never gonna happen. Who do you think Outlaws should go after in free agency next year? I have no idea. I'm like more concerned with like who stays next year and like if like what the roster even looks like. Hold on, my dog is barking at me. Who just subbed? Bottom Cat Boredom. Thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate your support. Appreciate everyone's support. What are some season deals, off-season deals that fell through? That's like super fucking generic. There's so many deals that fall through. I like Space to fucking Paris or something. I forget what it was. I think it was Space to Paris or something. Say a team like Outlaws runs a weird strat that doesn't make sense, but they keep it trying it until they're 3-0 to 4-0. Do you guys know at the time the strat is bad? There was like a meta for like a week that season, like at the beginning of season 1, where like Lucio Brigg was like this comp where if you just like held W, it was like Lucio Brigg McCree, and if you just like held W, you like ran over every single team. It was like a double armor packed McCree would just like kill everyone in the backline, but you had to play like you had like the biggest pair of balls like in the world. Like you literally had to like all in their team. You had to like feed essentially. Your whole team had to be ready to feed. And I think when Outlaws got on stage that week, they weren't ready to feed. And then they played passive, and if you play passive on that comp, you just lose. So like that whole time of us losing was weird because in scrims it was working forever. Like it was beating literally everyone, and then when the team got on stage, they just like played differently. So that's like the never-ending battle of like playing in scrims versus on stage, but whatever. Thank you, Polly Baggins. A lot of negativity is going around. What would you consider your biggest accomplishment? I think surviving as long as I did. I feel like not quitting or like, I don't know. It's such a hard question to answer. I feel like the season 1 team was like really good, and I'm like really proud of that. But a lot of my memories after that are like really jaded because of like how much hardship there was around everything. Do you know if anyone wanted to sign Bumper, and if not, why? I think Bumper had like a rumor of like, I mean, people talk about like Facts, right? Like Facts a tilter. I think Bumper had that kind of rumor, like, you know, mindset circulating. And it was so big that like it overpowered anyone that wanted to sign him. I'm sure he had offers or like some teams that were interested, but I feel like if one player on your team's like, I heard this, and then nobody signs him, and then you just like wind up where Bumper was. How did I get involved with Owl in the first place? I mean, I was involved with Overwatch. I was obviously like casting and doing analysis. And then eventually someone just like someone was just like, hey, want to make a team? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. This is crazy. Was it true that London wasn't going to be full Korean at first? Yes. Who'd you guys see as a rival in the inaugural season? I think Philly. Because we had like the phase 50-50 split, so like there was more rivalry there. And Corndog's phase was also a rivalry, so a lot of players on phase and from that tier 2 team were on Philly. Maybe Seoul, because Seoul was like the Korean team, we were the Western team, and like we would go back and forth. That was like fun. What's up, Hoplite? Do you think many teams will follow the Valiant in the future with a budget roster and an amazing coach? If they can, I feel like finding an amazing coach is rare. I mean, I think Packington has proven his worth, obviously. But I think it's like a risk because if Packington was even like, I don't know, half as good or 75% as good, they might be trash, you know? I don't know. Would you ever want to go back to analysis desk like Overwatch World Cup? Maybe. Like I'd rather make content with like Zoe, for example, but I don't know that I would want to like go sit on the desk and like just sit there analyzing and doing what I do in a vast stream, but in a, you know, in a suit on a desk for the amount of like work that would be. Do you think Owl teams spend an unhealthy amount of time scrimming? No, I think it's pretty healthy. Like players have their time off, and it's like, I mean, 2 to 3 blocks a day is like not that crazy. It's just hard to have work-life balance regardless, because you're working, you're like living, you're living in like an esports driven world where like your entire life is esports. You go to bed, your Twitter fucking blows up because it's esports Twitter, like, etc., etc. Like, I don't know. It's hard to, the work-life balance question is different than the scrim question. I think work-life balance problem has to do with esports consuming your entire soul. I think scrimming though is like completely fine. Did y'all get slack for taking the old Astros design in your special jerseys? No. Next year, Tempest, I was under the impression most Dallas core would stay. I have no idea. I just know a lot of contracts run out. So when contracts run out, you have no control anymore. And then when you have no control, it's GG. Is it true you power bombed Brent off the Owl stage in a commercial that never aired? No, but I wish I had. Was your Owl time worth it? Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot. I think like in the future, like any job I get, there's no way that I don't have experience from this job, right? There's like 0% chance. The frick just happened? Whoa. I broke it. Wait, why is this broken now? Oh, because I did this. There we go. Esports awk. Was there any truth in the old? It wasn't really a rumor, was it? I mean, the Bud situation is like so dead in the water. It's like, it was just weird. It was like, I signed most of the corn dogs. I had Mendo, Linkser, and everyone. And then Bud's fucking yeets the roster before this offseason's over, which makes him unmarketable to like every single team in the league because now they have a leaker on their team. Like, you don't want a leaker on your team. It's just like life. Like there was still hope for Buds, I guess is what I'm trying to say. People wanted Buds on the team. But then once he leaked the roster, it was like really bad. I think Buds is playing Valorant. What was the Houston homestand like for you as the GM? I mean, it was kind of eye-opening. It was cool. Like having an event that was like kind of yours was like nice. I don't think that, but the problem is that the next homestand was always going to be worse than that one. And from that perspective, it was bad. Like the idea of it was bad. I really like the COD setup. Like I really do think that the COD setup's better. Can you describe the process of acquiring players from 2 to 3 teams as opposed to signing ladder players? How many players have agents? Most players that get an offer, like if I were to go after like Dalton and he was still in second wind, Dalton should be smart enough to say, hey, an Owl team approached me, and then go find a agent in that time. So like I don't think tier 2 players have agents necessarily when they're in tier 2. But I feel like any tier 2 player that gets approached for Owl finds an agent generally just to make sure they don't get scammed. But then it just becomes like, oh, this team wants me, this team wants me, blah, blah, blah. Which Owl players outside of Outlaws did you enjoy interacting with the most? Probably like the season 1 fuel roster of like Taimu, Harry, Chips and Coco in them, and then maybe like the Gladiators roster at the time of like Hydration, Goose, and like Shaz and that group of people. Like they're fun. How's Tyrong? I hope he's doing well. I've spoken to him a few times. I mean, he wrote that big tweet about like how he misses me and stuff, and like that was really cool or nice of him. I mean, I miss working with him. He was definitely like one of my best friends, I think, over like the past 3 years because we were just kind of like stuck in hell together for a while. But I think he's doing better now. He seems to be enjoying Valorant. You think Titans will try and go full Korean again? No. Even if they ditch the entire roster, I'd be shocked if they did. Did you consider the possibility of promoting any of the old Optic Academy players? Sharp, obviously. I think like the idea of Tayo would have been a good idea going into this season, but that never panned out. Was it Vol? I think Vol was on that team too. There was definitely like some talks. Kaiser obviously was at that point. I think Tayo should be an Owl, to be honest. Or he's someone that like any team would benefit from in Owl. What do you think Owl does better compared to other esports leagues? I think production wise they're really good. I think like product wise they're good. I think selling sponsorships wise they're good. I think other leagues though, how many other leagues are even successful? Like people keep, I don't know, like LCS is successful in a way, but like it's like hard. Like I don't know how many leagues are like actually popping off. It's like just LCS. It's like what should they copy from LCS? Like maybe the content structure. I don't really watch LCS enough to know, but LCS is like the only thing you can compare it to, right? Like Dota doesn't really do leagues. They have like tournaments. CS:GO is more tournaments, right? Like I don't know. Do you think there's a chance that Owl pivots heavily to the Asian teams with cost and A teams relocating if it continues? No, I don't know. I don't think I mean maybe ATVI could go more like Asia focused, but then at that point just split the league in half. I don't know. LCS's popularity is a result of the popularity of League of Legends. True. Thoughts on Chipsa? I mean, Chipsa is good marketing, dude. He's owning. Everyone likes his tweets. He makes memes. He shit talks the enemy team when his team wins. He doesn't do anything. He's untouchable because he's on the bench. And now he's undefeated. And what are you gonna say to him? Be like, yeah, you suck. And be like, well, I want to match an Owl. You didn't. Fuck off, fuck boy. And then like, what do? You can't do anything. My guy's figured it out, right? I don't know. LCK got transferred. Yeah, I mean everything goes through crises. Like even I mean OGN got fucked by Blizzard too, right? Like I don't know. It's like the problems all kind of like repeat themselves. It depends on how much control the developer wants to have over the product of the game. But like, hang on, I'll be right back because my dog is now standing here biting my hand to go outside. So I'll let her out. Put like more questions in chat. Let's go. Let's go. Frickin' dogs. Let me see the dog. Viewership on from 30K to 45K when you play. Yeah, that's, I mean, Chips is kind of owning. I don't think so, because I think Carpe is probably the better Doomfist. What was it like signing the Korean members to the Outlaws? What was it like signing Jexa and getting Coolmat to step down? Uh, I mean, signing Korean players obviously comes with like a lot of, I don't want to say issues, but like hardships. As at least for me, it was like a different learning experience. Like onboarding a Korean player, fucking trying to talk to like a player agent when your player agent is Korean and works on Korean time, and you're getting messages from like his agent, from their agents at like fucking like 4 o'clock in the morning, and like you have to respond because if you don't respond at 4 o'clock in the morning, they're gonna think that you're ignoring them. Like it was a very different world, I guess. I didn't mind it. I mean, it's part of the job, right? The fucking 4 a.m. text message, but it was different. I mean, like getting Koreans housing when they don't have like credit scores established, or like, you know, their social security numbers done and their visas aren't done. You have to like find, like, there's always like a different it's like different hardships, but it's part of like the job. Saying Jexa was fun. Jexa's actually like one of like my favorite players, I think, in the league ever. Um, and the cool mat thing definitely was like very sensitive, but it worked out. I don't know. I guess it kind of worked out. I don't really know if it actually worked out. The Jexa part worked out. The cool mat part definitely made things a little interesting. What's your dog's name? Nika, Nika. Thoughts on Jane moving to Facebook Gaming? I mean, if they're gonna pay him, take the money. Is owl scouting bad? No, I think the tier 2 scene is too volatile and there's not good data ever. Like, especially now, it's like, okay, hero pools are in, which team is good? And like, I don't know. How do you even know who's good anymore in Overwatch? It's like very hard to find out. It's like you either work good as a team or not. Do Owls have a translator? No. They have an English teacher though, I think now. Did you enjoy your job? Uh yes. I don't know if I enjoyed the stress. The only player that requires a translate, there's like two people that need translators, if anyone. It's Repel and Hureg. Jexa and Meko's English is actually really fucking good. So it's like, as long as like those two are in the room, you can generally, like, it's very easy to have a conversation with any of them. But Repel's English got a lot better as I was leaving. Like, I don't really speak to Hureg too much on the day-to-day, but it's whatever. How much do you miss living in North Hollywood? Not at all, dude. Ever since that guy tried to fucking extort me for money, claiming that my dog bit him when I wasn't even there, I like hated everything about that city. It was fun the first year, but then the second year was trash. How do Fate players feel about being benched? I mean, they all hate it, obviously. But, I mean, it's a challenge to some people. It's the demotivator for others. That wasn't he a math teacher? Pog. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Owl trying to move to imitate existing sports leagues? Which other efforts do you think are a good move for esports, and which do you think unnecessary hamper? I mean, I think like the season format hampers everything. I think the localization thing was actually pretty good. Like, I don't know. I think for a new esports scene, like the localization thing paid off. I think Houston as a fan base worked in our favor at the time, right? I don't know. It's like I think a lot of stuff was good about the fact they were trying to imitate sports, but maybe trying to go too hard on the professionalism aspect of it made it bad. Like, I think esports like kind of needs memes and dumb shit that like make, you know, dumb clips possible. And when you try to go too full sports desk and like full serious, it kind of like takes the fun out of video games. What's the GM workload like in the off season compared to in season? During off season, you have to worry about like housing, you have to worry about contracts, you worry about scouting, new visas, visa renewals, new players, bidding wars. Like, you're up all night trying to like make sure you don't miss a message. Like, all information is good information. Knowing which player is going where, how does that affect your thoughts on the roster that you're making? Off season's fucking hard. Do you think Owl internal places too much stock on diehard fan interest? Seems like they misjudged diehard interest versus college interest, like selling out Barclays season 1. Uh, that's like a hard question. I don't know. I feel like most of the Owl fans at this point are diehard because if you were a casual fan, you probably don't watch Owl anymore because there's like other casual shit for you to watch. SoCal kind of pops us out of LA. I don't disagree with that, but North Hollywood was trash. When a player is benched, what are their chances of getting back in? What do they have to do? They have to grind the shit out of the game and then also make a case for themselves to get back in. It's kind of hard. I mean, maybe another player slips. Maybe there's a hero that they think that they're good at. Maybe that week someone gets sick, or I don't know. You do get opportunities to scrim for a very long time, but if you're benched early, it's very hard to get back in. But if you're benched mid-season, I would say it's not as bad. Depends on the meta though. North Hollywood had good food. Do you like the current setup of hero bans? If not, what would you change? I think the current setup's the best iteration. The people who are pushing for like the 2 week thing, I think, don't realize that if you have a buy, it kind of makes scrims like impossible for like weeks at a time. Because players will be like scrimming on different patches and it's just weird. But I'd rather them just do full pick bans. How good was Arhan Tyrong's English? Tyrong's English is very good, or like it was very good considering how little investment there was in his English. Arhan's English got really, really good towards the end, but it was like too late at that point. Like he was already like checked out. But I was actually impressed at how good Arhan's English got at the end of the season 2. A player that is more intelligent about the game or a player that is mechanically insane? Probably a player that's intelligent about the game. You know of any changes that are coming to T2? No. Just came from the Spitfire Reddit after the clip of your thoughts on them wanting to leave. Didn't I just say that if they wanted to sell, they probably could have sold, so why wouldn't they sell? I assume that that's what the clip is. Because I don't actually know anything, but I assume that if Spitfire wanted to add the league, they could just sell their slot. And if they wanted to add the league, they would have just put their sub open for sales. But I haven't heard anything about that. So I assume that that's the clip. But I don't think I said anything else. I feel like my voice is starting to hurt, but what was the point of going after hydration and then rarely playing him? I mean, when you sign a player, you don't really know how often they're going to play, right? Like, you have an idea. Like, in my head, maybe hydration was a starter, but, like, I'm not the coach, right? So I'm not going to, like, tell the coaches who to start. But if the coaches think that, like, Blase was better or Mumu was better at the time, then that's who they're going to play. But was hydration a bad pickup? Like, I don't think anyone can really make that argument. You could argue that maybe Blase was redundant if you had hydration, but now hydration is playing main tank, so that argument kind of goes out the window. Like if Dante, hydration, and Blase are playing at the same time, then you really argue that any of them are like not valuable or something. How big of an impact do you think Overwatch 2 will have on Owl? It depends on how well they drive viewership from Overwatch into Overwatch League through the game. Like what incentives they give people for viewing. I feel like Owl needs to give broadcasting rights to other private companies. Do you feel like Blizzard's owning the league is detrimental? I think there's a lot of downsides to Blizzard's owning the league from the perspective of the teams. I think season 1 it kind of made sense because they wanted to make sure that the product was good. Like they had full control over everything, but I think like now it's like I feel like giving the teams more power to sell stuff and like, own their own teams would like do a lot of good, but saying it like, is it detrimental now? Maybe. Was it detrimental before though? I don't think so. Do you think there'll be a better player than Sinatra? Yeah. I mean, someone else is going to win this season. I mean, Sinatra was great, but it's like Harpe is really good, Profit's really good. There's some good players in the league. And they also had a stacked team. I mean, there's a lot of like positives that were playing into Sinatra's hand. Dream roster that you could build. I don't know. That's I don't care about Overwatch anymore. It's like I don't like the players are like such like moving pieces now. It's like weird. I just know I would definitely have Carpe on the team. I don't even know who the best main tank in the league is anymore. I feel like main tank is like such a busted position right now. Everyone's just playing everything. Off tank, dude, maybe like Fury. Fury the best anymore even? I don't know. Like Twilight, obviously. Moth, like Shock. Is Shock the correct answer to that question? Like, like I don't know. Like I feel like the answer is Shock. The ELO Guardians, no. I think I'm gonna cut it here because I'm kind of like running out of. I'm kind of running out of voice, and the questions are kind of getting dwindled. Like they're dwindling. So maybe I'll just like upload this 2-hour VOD to YouTube and see what happens. But we'll see. If you had the number one pick in the Owl draft, which role would you pick? Main tank? Probably main tank. And I mean, if everyone here enjoyed their stay, I guess hit the follow button. I'll try to do more content like this. I don't know what is next for me. I'm kind of scared. I'll be real. Like, I actually have no idea what my future is anymore. And it's kind of scary. But if people have like a demand for stuff like this, I'll just keep doing it. Maybe like once or twice a week. I appreciate everyone that hit the follow. There was someone else that subbed. Who else subbed? Someone subbed. I think I missed a sub on my way. Next time I kind of want the focus to be more on like specific questions, I guess, pertaining to esports more so than Owl. I feel like everyone has Owl questions because everyone kind of wants Owl juice. But I feel like there's also a lot of people who kind of have questions that are like more specific for like, if I want to get into this job, what should I know? Or like, what do you do in this situation? Or like, talk about the roster construction process, like stuff like that. That's like kind of more interesting and also more generic. Or like, social media as a position, or I want to get into marketing. Like, I feel like I have a lot of information about stuff like that. Obviously, I can talk about Owl forever. And that's why I kind of just like rant. Like, I can literally sit here and talk forever. But it's, I think at the end of the day, I had this conversation with Siegel about like the podcast. It's like Overwatch content's obviously good and like has value, but more esports generic stuff. Take questions on Discord and come with a topic in mind in advance, maybe. Yeah, no, I'll expand on it. It's more just like seeing like where people obviously you guys ask questions forever, right? So there's obviously a demand and there's obviously questions, and like I'm sure if you could go back in time, you would have like I'll end the stream and then you'll come back and be like, oh wow, I wish I asked XYZ, right? But next time maybe I'll come in with like more of a topic, or maybe there'll be something easier to talk about. Holy shit, Hobo, thank you so much for the subs. Loomy, Substancer, Neff, Loserman, Pyrotechnics. Dodged. Thank you, Hobo. But yeah, so like the other thing too is I might consider turning this into like more of like a couple time a day thing, right? Where it's like maybe once a week we'll just discuss the dumb like the stuff on Reddit. Is there a link for the Seagull podcast? No, we haven't done anything yet. We're just like brainstorming. But I feel like every week if there's like a new slew of like current events, like I kind of want to read this like Chad post. I haven't read it yet, but maybe we can do another stream talking about that tomorrow, or like maybe not tomorrow, but like another day during the week. But I'd rather turn this into more of a structured, like even if it's like an hour or two podcasts a day, or like 1 hour podcast a day and that's it, and then people just come in here, get their podcast and leave, and then maybe I could like play other games or something, then like that might be the best way to do things. I'm just trying to figure out like what that is and how to execute on it in a way that's going to like get value for everybody, that isn't going to turn into them getting bored or watching me play a game that they don't care about, like Destiny or Terraria or whatever. So we'll figure it out. But this was a good test. I mean, I appreciate that a lot of you like showed up and what's the word? Yeah, I could do that too. Play slow, mindless games. I mean, I could have sat here and played Terraria the whole time, but I don't like getting disrupted. Like, I actually enjoy the fact that all I have to do is focus on chat and interact and stuff. But I mean, I tiptoed a few questions, right? Like, you guys asked some questions, and I kind of just like gave very generic answers. But there are also questions that I think I gave very in-depth answers to. And like, obviously, player-specific or team-specific, juice questions are kind of like not something that I really want to talk about if I don't have to. But like esports general kind of stuff is like obviously better for me, and it's better for you to ask about because there's a lot more stuff I think that goes into the team building process and just like esports as a whole that isn't always brought up. And I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, I've seen the ugly, and so more questions around stuff. Key takeaways were more just like key takeaways from today were that there's definitely a demand, that people will listen, and people definitely have questions. So as long as there's like questions and stuff for people to talk about, hats. As long as there's people that want to like learn and people that want to like better themselves or like get a better understanding of like why someone did something or maybe like get a different perspective, I feel like I offer that. But we'll see. I mean, I just want to do this more often because at the end of the day, I think like growing content is probably my best bet. And it's been kind of hard during Owl. Hats are the biggest takeaway. But yeah, I'm going to kill the stream. I might stream tonight if we play Terraria with Surefour and Avast. But as of right now, I'm going to go take a break and like chill. But yes, I do think Overwatch should go free to play. But thank you everyone for stopping by, and thanks everyone for hanging out, and thank you everyone who subbed, thank you everyone who followed. Please hit the follow button if you haven't, because I really do want to keep creating good content. But everyone have a great rest of your day. Let me see if there's anyone to host. Let's go check out the Twitch listings. Let's give back to some peoples. I'm gonna go throw you guys over at Clone Man because I'm a big fan of the Clone Man. One of the original homies of the stream, but I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll probably tweet out my next time. I'll probably, if I do this again, it'll probably be the same time next week, because I kind of want to put more effort into it instead of just like this crappy overlay with like me just typing in orange. Wouldn't free to play Overwatch suffer like Destiny 2? No. But I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna host Clone Man. Also, if you have any questions, like keep them, and then we'll get some again next time.